I go to a salon.
Ooh.
Now it's awkward because they cut them with masks on. And like, she's like, I'm just going to move it so I can get around your ear. And then it just fell off. It was awkward.
I think I remember screaming like, ah! It's like a Godzilla movie.
People running out of the barbershop.
Yeah. Unclean!
Oh, your hair is so sexy, Corey.
Thank you. Hello, and welcome to the Achievement Hunting 101 podcast. We are the experts at achievements, hunting, and
101s.
laws. As you might have guessed, I am Corey. Hopefully, you don't categorize me as Foo-Foo Cuddly Poof, who is still on paternity leave.
He's on what?
Paternity.
Oh,
paternity.
paternity.
Yes, with a P.
We get those kind of benefits?
You know, we don't pay very much, but we got dental and paternity leave.
We
Terrific.
have dental?
Nobody told you?
Some of us.
You didn't get the welcome packet?
All right. And as you've heard, we have Elle, Michelle, and Nate with us tonight.
Wait a minute.
Today.
I deserve my own introduction.
Feed me more.
Coming at you live from my top left corner of my video screen, we have Big Elliot.
Hey, little Corey. How you doing, buddy?
I'm okay.
So we're called Achievement Hunting LOL now because 101 looks like LOL. I get it.
We're just the experts at achievements, hunting, and laws. Yep. I can make you laugh out loud.
Very easily.
Anytime I want.
You get that soundboard working, and you're correct.
And I can even make Mango laugh when he's not here.
You certainly can. Tommy!
Anyways, on to the show. A little bit of housekeeping. We normally don't do housekeeping. I want to let the Spotify users know that today we have enabled, because we figured out how, all of our episodes are now on that platform. It had previously been publishing the last 100 and always knocking the oldest one off, but that is no more. You can find the entire archive on Spotify. So for those of you who are really craving it, and I am not recommending it, episode 0 is a thing out there. So go and enjoy that, I guess.
If you want to hear episodes before Nate was a full-time cast member, right, you can go back to those really early ones.
Ah, the good days.
Yeah, I listened to the first 2 minutes, basically the introduction of episode 0. And it's Kenny stumbling over words, so nothing changes there. And it's just me and just Elle, and it was a thing we did, and we put out on the internet, so you can go listen.
It's always good to be able to see where we have come from.
I mean, I didn't have a mic back then, but thanks to all the patrons, now I have a nice one. So we have come far enough. So thank you very much, everybody. True.
You had a tin can and a string.
I did.
Back then.
Sure did.
I did, and then I returned the can for a nickel, and here we are.
It's definitely an improvement. So if you want to hear that, maybe you want to hear that improvement, go check that out. Other bit of housekeeping, we're going to try to keep a tight ship sailing today because we have an extra lengthy special segment. We have our very own Elle, and don't let that drive you away, leading an interview with this year's 2020 to 2021 Leapfrog winners. 3 of the 4 winners sat down with Elle for an extended period of time, and they answered some questions. So that will come up immediately following. So if you normally skip the panel or skip the stuff after the panel, maybe don't. Maybe you'll hear some
3
cool
new
stuff
friends
from those guys. So that will come up today. Yes, 3 new friends.
Yeah, Indigo Toyota has a very sexy voice, so you don't want to miss it.
And with that, we are going to talk about games. First up I want to hear from Nate. He's been a moose flying a bird this week.
Yeah, as you often see in nature. So I played a game called The Falconeer, and this was I want to say it was a showcase game. They were really hyping this up when it came to Xbox Series X. And
it was a launch game. Kind of.
Yeah, it was definitely in the launch window, and they definitely hyped it for the launch of the Series X. And had I done my homework, I could tell you it was more than one person. But since it says developer Tomas Sala, I'm going to say, yeah, I think it's one person. And that in itself is amazing. This game is a flying game. So you're kind of flying around. It's kind of like dog fighting with falcons, large falcons. And that's kind of unfair to say that it's a dog fighting game, because at least
there's no dogs.
Yeah, exactly. There's no dogs. You expect dog fighting. You want to see dogs, maybe some, I don't know, sangria. I don't know. But the combat is not super involving. It's not super complicated. I'm coming from like a background history of playing TIE Fighter, versus X-Wing, that sort of stuff. So the dogfighting there and the ship-to-ship combat is great. In this game, it's kind of like the game was developed by one person. So it's very minimalistic. It really is mostly a game about fetch quests, it seems like, which is a little disappointing. You're kind of going to different areas and you're landing on perches and you're talking to different factions, and factions will only give you quests when you have contracts with them, or basically little permits that allow you to get jobs from them. Now you can buy these permits from the person at the same shop who accepts your money, and you can get money from completing little quests or picking up pirate chests and turning them in, things like that. So that's basically how you're going to progress through the game, is getting all these quests, going out, finding all these different locations. And while not the most thrilling aerial combat, the game is very pretty. And it's very much a relaxation game for me. I had been, actually I was playing this while I was editing the segment that comes after the panel today. And because I didn't need to pay attention to the story, I could just kind of fly around. I was enjoying that part of the game. So as I was saying, the graphics are really nice. The combat's not so great. The quests are kind of just go here, find this thing, maybe talk to this person, bring this thing back. Very fetch questy. But there are lore bits, every now and then when you land on a particular shrine. So there are a couple different shrines. I'm not sure how many yet. I've found 3 or 4. And when you land on them, they give you a little bit of history about the story that's going on in this world. It's basically everything in this land is covered by water, except for this really weird trench in the middle of the map where the water just kind of goes down endlessly forever. So it's a very interesting kind of layout, but there are these shrines that are kind of just underwater. And when you land on the perch and you hear the lore about the shrine, the water kind of like pulls away a little bit and a statue comes up out of the water, and you learn a little bit more about why that shrine exists. And that part's kind of fun. But in all, it's, if you're only looking for, dog fighting, aerial combat, it's probably not going to scratch that itch for you. But if you're looking for something kind of relaxing, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it looks good, then maybe the Falconeer is something you might want to look into.
Yeah, I played it at launch, and unfortunately, I only got like an hour to an hour and a half in. It was just really slow starting.
Yeah.
I do kind of want to go back to it to see if it picks up, but yeah, it was not the most fun thing.
From my experience, the first hour is pretty indicative of the gameplay. It's about that speed. Like, you'll go to a place and maybe you'll have some combat there. And then you're basically just going to be flying back. There is this nice feature that when you're going and doing one of these quests, most of the times you'll be prompted with, okay, just get there. So you can fly and you can look at the ocean, you can look at storms, you can do all that fun stuff. but rather than just staring at water passing underneath you, you can also hold the A button, and then they'll warp you basically to your destination. And then maybe you have to do a little bit more flying to find the thing that you have to find. But they cut out kind of all that middle travel, which is nice.
Looking at your achievements for the Falconeer so far, it looks like you got one collectible achievement. It seems like there's a bunch throughout the game. Are these unique to the shrines? Like they each have their own set? Or was there just one set that you can complete early on in the game?
Well, for the longest time, I had no idea what I was doing because I wasn't listening to the game. I wasn't really reading the game. So it was kind of hard to get an idea of what I was supposed to be doing. So I was just flying around exploring. And, part of that time was also my daughter doing the same thing. She's like, she sees me play a game. She wants to help and she wants to participate. So, okay. So this game is not heavy on combat. So perfect. She can fly around and have fun with that. The achievements that I got were mostly for discovery. You complete the prologue, you get an achievement. You find your first shrine, you get an achievement. I found 3 sea enchantresses. Now, those are just people that are at different settlements. So I think if you find the right 3 settlements, then you get that. You're going to need to find everything. You're going to need to find all of these places, all these outposts and things like that in order to get all the achievements. They're mostly just for landing somewhere. Some of them are for combat, defeating 5 enemies during a mission. And that can kind of be cheesed by like defeating them, running away, coming back and they've repopulated and defeating them and then running away. And I think you do the same thing with like killing ships and turrets as well. So I don't think it's going to be too hard if you actually want the completion. TA's estimate says 15 to 20 hours. That might be right. It's going to be a lot of flying, I can tell you that.
In my head, for no good reason, I'll make up a reason, but for no good reason, I kept just crossing wires between the Falconeer and Immortals Phoenix Rising. Maybe there's something about a phoenix and a bird. But
it's that letter F.
Couldn't talk about these games more differently than you have, other than your daughter picks up and plays it sometimes with you.
I agree. Yeah, this is not that game. They're apples and oranges.
I mean, it's a series enhanced title, right? So that's maybe a positive. I mean, have you, like, I know with Immortals Phoenix Rising, you've tried on both consoles to see if there are any substantial differences. Did you try that at all with the Falconeer?
I did. And, one thing I haven't tried is playing an older game as an older game on the Series X. Every time I go to fire it up, I'm like, I'm going to save on Comcast fees this month. This is the month that I do it. So I transfer the game over from my 1X over to my Series X, and then I go to boot up the game, and it's like, hey, we've got a prettier version. You want to download that? And like, there's no option that says, no, I want to play the old ratty game. So I'm just like, well, if I say no, what's it going to do? I don't want to say no. So then I download the thing and play it. It's just, to me, there was no huge difference between the two. It looks good, but everything looks good on the Series X for the most part. But playing it on the 1X, it was just fine. I didn't notice any improvement in the load times either, which is a little disappointing. Because the intro getting into the game, for whatever reason, always takes like a minute. You have to watch this cutscene with the whatever loading, and then you can get into the game. That's a little bit annoying, but nothing noticeable that I could tell.
So I'm assuming part of the reason why you're playing the Falconeer is because it just hit Game Pass this past week, right?
That's probably why I picked it up. Yeah, I was looking for something new just to try out. And like I said, I knew I had to invest some time on the computer, and I wanted to play a game while I was doing it. And I obviously couldn't do anything that was like really intensive, like questy. I have to pay attention to the story. So I just wanted to play something that I could just grind away on, or just kind of, plod through and do whatever. And this game kind of fit the bill for that. Like, I sound kind of down on the game. I'm just not super up on the game. It's okay. I wouldn't recommend it as you have to play this. But if you like the graphics, you're into kind of aerial combat, and you kind of want to chill out and do some fetch quests, this game might be good for you.
I think that there's a connotation with it coming out with the Series X that you're expecting more. At least I was. Like you said, this is like one main developer. It's a budget title. It's $30. flat out, or it's on Game Pass, just came out. So there is some connotations with, all of that stuff tied in. So take that for what it's worth. I do agree with you. It was a very pretty game when I played it. It's a little bit slow to start out, but it is a different game. You don't really see a ton of vehicular aerial combat games. And the Falconeer is definitely one of them up there that's a little different. I did want to point out that when it came to Game Pass on February 4th, they did release, they're calling it a DLC. It's only $2. There's no achievements for it, but it allows you to ride dragons. And the dragons come with homing missiles. And according to one article, they are overpowered.
I like the sound overpowered.
Yeah.
But the combat wasn't difficult, so...
Yeah, I think you had a difficulty option.
Yes.
And there was no achievements related to difficulty, so.
Yes, so I bumped it down to easy.
Oh, good, Corey mode. One other thing, you said PC, although I don't think you played it on PC, correct?
Right. No, I didn't play it on PC.
Right. I think you were talking about like PC Game Pass Quest. Anyways, you can play it on PC. It does have a Windows version. However, TA does not list it as play anywhere, so for those who like to switch around, your saves might not go across platform there. Just a word of potential warning.
Interesting.
So thanks for telling us about the Falconeer.
Can I ask questions?
I was waiting for you to.
I'm still not sure if you could see or hear me.
I can hear you and see you.
I can see
unfortunately.
Sorry to hear that. I was going to echo what you said earlier about it being one of the first optimized for Series X and S games that it definitely looked pretty, but every time I watched video footage of it, I believe you might have streamed it once, Corey.
I did.
It just seemed slow was the word that I want to use.
Yep, very, very slow. Just to getting to locations, getting to the combat, it's just like, okay, just kind of floating here, clouds are passing by kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
They have 12 friends with it on their tag, and a good 8 of them have only gotten either 1 or 2 achievements, so people seem to put it down.
Any sense of how many of them started it pre-Game Pass?
Not really, but yeah, I haven't looked that far into it, but it seems like people seem to just not get back to it. I was going to ask if you have any sense, either one of you, of how hard it is.
Like I said, the combat is not tough at all. Now maybe it's just because, I'm at the very beginning of it. I started out on normal, like I normally do. And then, like I said, my daughter wanted to play, so I bumped it down to easy for her. And I just never found a reason to turn it back up because there was no combat. So, no real need to change that. It doesn't seem very difficult. It really seems like it's a chill game. You're not going to be, your blood's not going to be pumping when it comes to combat. Yeah, it's impressive for one person, but yeah, as a launch title, it's not as impressive as you would hope.
Yeah, for me, playing it the day it came out, it also came out alongside with Planet Coaster and Tetris Effect. Like, there was just too much stuff to drag my attention through it, and not enough interest to kind of go back to it immediately. So, like I said, I will probably give it a go eventually, but it's definitely not high on my list to play at the moment. Unless Koosh gets further in and tells me it's the next Phoenix Rising. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But
so anyways, that was the Falconeer. Michelle, what have you brought to the table this week?
So the last time I joined you guys, I really, really wanted to come back knowing I'd be back on a couple weeks later and talk about the medium. But unfortunately, I got a little hooked on trying to hit a completion percentage target, so I didn't do that, and I've been mostly working on games where I have already started them. So one of the games I played, because of Warboats, was Sherlock Holmes, The Devil's Daughter. Have any of you guys played any of the Sherlock Holmes games before?
No.
Can't say that I have.
I did when one was going to leave or something like that, and I just didn't. there was no way I was going to finish it.
So this is the one that left. And subsequently, it was on sale for a couple bucks. So Elle actually grabbed it, so I have access to it now because I had started it while it was in Game Pass. It's a visual novel. It's Sherlock Holmes. It actually has an interesting approach. It's kind of similar to Murdered Soul Suspect, if you've played that, where you find different pieces of information throughout the campaign, and you have to take this information and make deductions based on the information you have. So you have to combine two pieces, and you'll have to decide between this guy was out for revenge or this guy was out to protect somebody. And then based on what you pick there, it'll lead to further deductions. And then eventually at the end of each case, you have to either condemn the suspect, pardon me, or you have to let them go. And I don't believe that matters. You just have to complete the case. So if you like these sorts of games, there really doesn't seem to be any way to fail. In Sherlock Holmes, The Devil's Daughter, you just play until you find everything and eventually keep clicking on things until all the deductions become available. But if you want to do things in a more clear-cut, straight line sort of fashion, there's a really superbly written walkthrough on TA for the game. So I actually had played this game, again, right before it left Game Pass. I haven't played it since it left Game Pass. I went to the walkthrough, looked at the last achievement I was up to, and I was able to pick up right from there because the walkthrough is done so well. I like to play trying to figure out the stuff on my own and then using the guide to sort of make sure I make collected everything I need to collect. There are no collectibles in the game, but just got all the pieces so I don't have to keep going back and forth between the different environments. But it's super well done, and so if you want to use it just as sort of a guide posting thing, you can, or if you want to just use it all the way through, you can. But if you like visual novels, it's a little on the long side. It's 10 to 12 hours, but it's good. The characters are fine if you know Sherlock Holmes and Watson and all that. So I've enjoyed what I've done with it. I'll probably put it aside for now, but especially when it comes around on sale again for a couple bucks, it's worth picking up just to have if you're looking for something a little different to play through.
When you're trying to solve stuff on your own, can that potentially lock you out of achievements?
I don't believe so. And the game has, I think, 7 or 8 cases in it. Once you complete the cases, I believe you can then go select them. Like, once you complete a case, the case is done, but each case is a couple hours. So it's sort of similar to how The Walking Dead works, right? Like, you'd finish an episode, and then you just go start the episode from the beginning. So if you read the walkthrough, it'll be like, oh, this is a missable achievement. But it's not flagged that way on TA, because you don't have to play more than, an hour to get back to where you need it. So I don't think there's anything that you can miss. And you can also get stuff wrong. If you get it wrong, it'll flash red and let you know, like, this was an incorrect deduction. Try again.
Yeah, I think I tried to play one of these games. I think they're all by Frogwares.
Correct.
Seems like.
Mm-hmm.
I never got an achievement in the one I played. I think this game just wasn't for me.
It's possible. It's not like they're not outstanding per se, but if you like these sorts of visual novels that also have sort of an adventure element where it's not just pointing and clicking in a static room, you do have to walk from place to place. There are little elements, like there's one scene where Sherlock Holmes is sneaking through a house and Dr. Watson's being a decoy, and as Holmes is walking into the house, he makes a creak right when he's walking on the floor, and you have to, there's almost like a quick time event where you have to highlight something, and then Watson knocks a vase over. So it's a little bit more interactive than some visual novels are, but it's still essentially what it is. And you're not picking up items necessarily to open up this keyhole. It's more that you're finding scraps of newspaper, a letter somebody sent, a bloody napkin, or whatever. Like, you're finding stuff like that to solve a crime.
I guess
I don't
people
have anything to say
I was
about
gonna say, I guess people don't love this type of game. I don't know.
Well, she said visual novel. I looked and saw it says point and click, so yeah, definitely not up my alley. Although I do hear decent things from them. Looks like there's 3 of them, and you mentioned Murdered Soul Suspect, which I assume is similar.
Yeah, let me correct myself. I keep saying visual novel when I mean point and click. Just got my wires
Same
crossed.
diff, right?
Well, there's you do have to point on things and click on them occasionally. So yeah, but it's also classified as adventure, so it's a little bit more interactive than a point and click, but not substantially.
Yeah, excuse me. There's 4 Sherlock Holmes games. One's on the 360, and then one of them is
this is a stack,
on the
yeah.
360, and then there's
Crimes of Punishment.
There's one that's has an EU version.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can definitely get some stacking on, but they all look like fairly easy games.
This is the kind of game that back in the 360 day, these would be the easy gamer score games people would pick up. Because it's only 10 to 12 hours, you can't miss anything, it doesn't require any particular skill, and there are good walkthroughs for it. These days, that's more passé, because there are so many better options if you're looking for a quick gamer score hit. And because these games are easy...
10 to 12 hours has to be good.
Because these games are easy to play, but they take so long to finish, they're really just... They don't have that niche pocket of people who will play them, even though they're not interested in that subject matter. So people who are going to play Sherlock Holmes, the Devil's Daughter, is going to be people who have played the other games in the franchise and maybe want a series completion, or people who just legitimately like playing point and clicks because it is good at that. It's just it's not super quick, but it is easy to get through.
Yeah, just kind of quickly browsing their catalogs.
Mm-hmm.
The Devil's Daughter is not the most played game, but it has quite the number, almost 30,000.
It wasn't Game Pass.
Yeah, you got to think that Games Pass comes from the majority of that. It looks like it's their second most played game.
Do you find yourself getting invested in the story at all?
I like the trying to solve the puzzle without the risk of getting it wrong element of it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're asking that in the context of could you play this game with the sound off and just go through it, you could, because again, very well written walkthrough on TA. Just follow that, and it's even, sometimes when you're playing games and you don't remember which button does which thing, it even always indicates that, press Y to enter intuition mode. I wouldn't have remembered that from the last time I played. But the stories are fine for what they are. They're all murder mystery or something in that nature, some kind of deviousness has happened and Holmes has to figure it out. So that they're entertaining, I thought, but your mileage may vary, obviously.
So I'm looking at the way the walkthrough is structured, and it's a lot, it's based off of Sherlock Holmes, so they're all individual stories and individual cases, and then they maybe not interconnected. It kind of reminds me of LA Noire in the way that was structured about cases. Is there anything to that?
I think that that's accurate because there is sort of a persistence between the stories in how certain characters interact. So the core people in that story, just like in LA Noire, when you arrest the core villain, may or may not come back. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't figure back in. In this one, I only got through to the second case, so I'm not 100% sure, but there are definitely persistent characters between them and some time elapses between them. So I think that is a relevant comparison in that mode, that it is a set of cases featuring kind of the same players throughout it. But there's not a sense of, you could finish the first case and then log in 2 years later and play the second case, and it's not like you lost anything so far as I've played. With LA Noire, there still is an overreaching narrative that you want to play the game in pretty reasonable succession so that you see that story from start to finish.
I kind of got I want to play it again now. I want to give it a fair try. I think the thing is, when I played it, there was a deadline, and it wasn't this one. It was Crime and Punishment, I think. And I think there was a deadline, and I did my usual thing where I don't want to just go in and play to a guide. I just don't want to follow a walkthrough the first time I play a game. And as I started to play it, I was like, this is going to take so much time to actually squeeze the game the way I want to do it. I want to play it natural, and then I want to do a cleanup. I was just like, this is just going to take too much time. So I think that's why I probably bailed. But when I have time and I look at this thing, it does look interesting. I like Sherlock Holmes. I mean, Benedict Cumberbatch is awesome.
Well, and especially in the context of Sherlock Holmes, his office is sort of the hub between everything. There's no open world that you travel on. You quick travel between different locations that are context sensitive to what needs to be done. But his office is typically one of the spots you can travel to. And his office has all sorts of superfluous information you do not need to interact with. But if you're playing the game on your own without a guide, you might be inclined to sit there and like, well, I'm going to read the whole encyclopedia because it's here and somebody bothered to write it. So I can understand why if you're playing under a time crunch and you want to be guide avoidant, it's not the best choice. If you're on a time crunch and you don't mind using the guide, though, you'll skate right through the game.
Speaking of skating, I did some of that in my living room this week.
Oh, well, do tell us how, Corey.
So I don't have a game that I got achievements in to tell you about this week, but it's a game that you can get achievements in if you so choose to purchase it on that kind of platform. The game is Just Dance 2021. So this is not my typical type game. Yeah, you heard me. Just Dance 2021. And this is kind of like a dad PSA. So this is not a game that I would ever buy or play typically. And I heard it on another podcast, and I don't know why it never clicked with me, but they just said that, you know, they bought it for their kids. He had daughters, and I have 2 daughters, and it just like they had a really great time. And so I was like, you know what? I don't know why, but my kids would love this game. I don't know why I haven't thought about it. So I kind of just said, all right, I'm going to check the price, and we'll see. We'll put a price tracker on it and see where it goes. Not thinking Xbox at all, actually. I wanted it on the Switch for several reasons. But first, as soon as I looked it up, it was on sale for like $30. And like the next day, GameStop had a deal of the day, and it was $25 brand new. So I said, okay, it's done. We're going to get that, and we'll just keep it. You know, whenever the kids do something good, you know, that we can reward them. But I couldn't wait, and we're terrible at keeping stuff. So they got that the next day. And we've been playing it for a couple weeks, mostly on the weekend, except for this past week. It's been almost every day if the kids, you know, have been good and stuff. But yeah, Just Dance 2021. I don't know. It's very fun. The kids can't get enough of it. My wife actually likes it. She uses it as workout some days, you know, to get in 30 minutes or whatever. It has like a sweat mode is what they call it. It tells you how many calories you burned. However accurate that may be, which is probably not accurate at all, but it is there. There's a good selection of songs. I noticed there's a kids mode, which is really nice. And what I got into it was the Switch version. Why did I not get it on Xbox? Well, the Switch is connected to the big TV in the living room, so there's area to actually dance there. The Xbox is at a desk in the office, not a lot of room, so there's that. The second piece is it will use the Joy-Cons, just one of them as the thing that you hold to dance. And you can add other devices. If you had more controllers or if you have a phone, you can actually use your phone. I imagine the Xbox version is phone only. One, my kids don't have phones. And 2, I could not imagine really holding anything bigger than a Joy-Con if I have to hold anything. So the phone doesn't really seem like the best option either. And at least for my wife's sake, the Joy-Cons have a wrist strap. And she has been known to throw a Wiimote or 2 in the past. Anyways, this was a great game. I recommend it for anybody who has young kids, especially if they like to dance. You get some good moves in. I was looking at the achievement list because you can get it on Xbox. And I think that in the past week, I would have unlocked half of the achievements at least. I noticed there was one for getting level 100. And we're already at like level 43. We've like mega starred songs and burned calories upon calories and sessions. And I don't know. It's really great. And they have this thing. I think you mentioned it like maybe even a month ago, Elle. They have this Just Dance subscription service where you get unlimited. You get their whole song catalog. It's like $30 for a year, and it's like 600 songs. And let me tell you what, we were dancing to some Frozen and some Moana. So I know you're a big fan, Koosh. That's on there. And you know what? I think that's a pretty good deal.
I'm a huge fan.
You should have gotten a trial with it, right?
Yeah, so that's what I'm using right now. 30-day trial. I can't imagine we cannot use these songs anymore. So that will probably be purchased along with a Nintendo subscription, which I have not been using. So
you said using the Joy-Cons?
Using the Joy-Cons.
4 players? Or are you switching off 2 players at a time?
Yeah, you can do like up to 6, I think. Since there's no achievements, there's really not a reason to get out our phone. And if we happen to you can do like competitive mode or co-op mode. If we do the competitive mode, and we beat the girls, they're just like, they get upset because they didn't win. So I just literally, I don't know what was going on. I was just holding the Joy-Con in one of the songs, and it was still counting all the moves, most of the moves, and I was winning against my 3-year-old. And so eventually I just kept really still, and she eventually won. And I said, "You are such a better duck than me," because there was a duck song. And then on all the princess ones, I had to lose on purpose because my
natural
6-year-old.
princess, yeah.
I mean, I'm a pretty good princess, but I had to let the 6-year-old be the best princess.
It's just such a shame you don't have it on Xbox, because there are all those 4-player achievements that nobody can get because nobody has friends who play Just Dance locally, and you're just squandering it on the Switch.
Yeah, no, I never really pictured like
What I was going to say, you said, I was going to say there's no reason to get this game on the Switch because it doesn't have achievements. You know my famous saying, you need to play for achievements, not for fun. So to answer your question from earlier, the Xbox version, if you recall, you get 2 versions of the game. One for the Xbox Series X that doesn't use the Kinect, and one where you can use the Kinect for Xbox One or Xbox One X. Both versions
that's
can
right.
use both versions. You can use the phone app as well. So there's always something you can use to play it. And yes, holding my big phone while playing is interesting, but it can be done.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, this is not going to be a quick game. Like I said, I could have got like half the achievements in this, second week of playing, but it's definitely a game that you have to be in it for the long haul. Looking at some of these, it's not even completed. At least I guess I'm looking at the series version at the moment, because you're right. I did forget that you can buy a bundle and basically get 2 stacks if you have both consoles. Some of that stuff does look pretty difficult. They want you to like megastar 40 songs.
That's why you have
I've
kids.
only done that naturally once. Well, the 6-year-old and 3-year-old aren't the best.
You put them together, get a 9-year-old.
They're having fun.
They'll get it done.
Anyways, that's my parent PSA game for this year. Just Dance. If you're like me, you thought you'd never play it, maybe give it a shot if it goes on sale, which is on sale right now. $30. Might be a good incentive, and it actually I don't know, kids can do it easily.
Well, and to your point with you would have gotten a lot of the achievements. All the Just Dance games are good with that. Like after the first song, typically you pop 4 or 5 achievements. Like there aren't too many games. I feel like it's either you get all the achievements within a really quick stretch, or it takes a while to get some. Like the pacing on the list is nice. There are some really grindy things, but you feel like you're making progress every time you go through. So the game does a good job with that. Like all the Just Dance games have similar lists, but they're good in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Elle, it is your turn. Please grace us with your gameplay antics that you got up to this week.
I always have some fun antics. Instead of a
I know you do.
Instead of a dad PSA, I have an old man, formerly nerdy kid PSA. As I recently went back to your favorite game and mine, Magic the Gathering 2015. Now,
did you remember what I said? This is the voice of Corey, not Kenny.
Oh. I mean, you've been PMing me all week asking me for tips. I'll briefly touch.
Different kind of PM.
You could play this game while doing a BM. Anyway, Magic the Gathering 2015 is a game that came out, I guess, in 2014. And unfortunately, I think what happened was they stopped coming out with yearly iterations, so I never finished this one. And it's a type of game, much like Sunset Overdrive, that we joke about, that will show up on my RTDL. I'll get the 1 achievement in it and then put it away. But this time, I decided to go for the completion. At the same time, our buddy Kronos messaged me saying, Al, you owe me a favor. Can you help me with my 100 online wins? So I'm like, oh yeah, a couple of years ago, you helped me get my 100 wins. And he said, no, I think it was over 3 years ago. He said, you're crazy. Then I looked, and it was in 2017. So he's been holding on to this debt for a long time now. So I owe him the 100 online wins. Thankfully, the game does have a tracker, so you can see how many wins you have. Unfortunately, you do have to play the games out. You cannot quit out. If you're into Magic, you can just make a deck where you can try to damage yourself. Try to make it a little bit faster. The game estimate says 50 to 60 hours, and I was like, yeah, that's crazy. But I'm looking at my hour count, and it says 53 hours, so apparently that's about right. What I finally did to wrap up some of the achievements is I did something very cheap that I didn't want to do. You can make custom deck, where basically you pick, it's hard to explain, but you pick lands that are one color, and then the other cards are a different color, so when the computer plays, they can't actually do any moves to hurt you, and you can play against what basically amounts to a dummy deck, and then you can beat up on the dummy deck and get a lot of achievements. So there are some solutions that tell you what decks to make, and you can get 5 or 6 achievements at a time. I finally did that, and I have one achievement left, which is to defeat all the Explore nodes, which basically is just you do 5 battles and fight a quote-unquote boss and unlock them and get all the cards in the game, and then I will be done. So I'm almost done. What I wanted to say is that I was familiar with Magic since I've been playing it since 1993 when I was in high school. Back then, we used these things called actual cards and played with people in real life. Now we have Xbox and computers, and it's amazing what you can do to program AI to play these type of games against you. It's just amazing what they do to counter you, and you're like, wow, I'm shocked. What I'm not so sure about is how a non-fan or non-player can learn the game using the Xbox. Now, my son definitely figured out the basic rules of the game. MichEll, I remember trying to learn on one of the older games. Do you remember the basics?
I learned how to play on 2012, or I don't even think it was numbered, because the first year that the Magic games came out, it wasn't given the year. It was just Magic Duel the Planeswalkers, and then in subsequent years they attached numbers, and I think 2015 was the last one, and then they released the, like, I don't know if it was free to play, the one that was out on the one that was the more grindy one. But yeah, I learned how to play. I think you had kind of shown me a little bit on the cards, but I really learned how to play Magic on the console. I'm confident enough playing it that I could beat the computer on average difficulty, but I don't know the game well enough to play against human players, because human players who've been playing Magic forever really know the cards and know the decks. A big part of Magic the Gathering, when you're playing it for real, is deck building. And there's a certain degree of that in the video games, where you unlock cards as you go through the campaign, and then you can build your custom decks. But in the game, typically, like Elle noted, they'll say, just use a green deck, or just use a red deck, or use this red-green combined deck, because those are the more attacking sort of cards. But people who know Magic know, well, this card's going to counter that. So I have learned the game. It was a sufficient teacher in terms of learning the rules and how each round of play goes, but not necessarily to make you super good at playing it against other people who really know it.
Yes, and the other thing you can do in the game that you can't do in real life is if you don't like the cards you're dealt, you could just hit pause and go to restart tool. So, and also if the opponent goes first, you could also just pause and restart. So you can definitely cheese things a little bit to get the advantage. Go first, get a good hand that you like, because oftentimes that's good enough to beat the computer. All right, so that was Magic 2015.
One quick question about it, though. Just real quick, I know from like 12 to 13, I played those. There really wasn't a significant difference between them. Is that still the case by Magic 2015? Like, if you've played the earlier ones, you know what you're getting into, or did they add anything significantly different?
What they did to make it different is they don't put every single card in every game. So each game will have its own select group of cards for you to choose from, if that makes any sense. So they don't have there's thousands and thousands of cards. So that's the main difference. They have all the same characters and worlds in the game. So there's actually a story that they try to put in there that for whatever reason. So that's the main thing. Unfortunately, after Magic 2015, what they did was they came out with this game called Magic Duels. And that came out in 2016, and it was an online-only game. And it was known for being buggy and having really bad achievements, like getting 500 daily quests done. And what was the other crazy one? I think 500 online wins, and you had to do it in ranked or something crazy like that. And the game had no achievement tracking, unlike Magic 2015. So people were not a fan of that game as much, I guess, because they closed the service for it. And unfortunately, that game has 12 discontinued achievements, of which I have one of them. So that sucks. But
Well, the entire game's been delisted, it looks like.
yeah, it went bye-bye in 2019.
I wonder why there's not been another Magic game since.
I mean, this one was...
I guess because it did bad?
I guess so. I
don't know. This one had 50,000 players, and that's on a console.
Yeah, and I think the idea on this one was that they made it like an FTP. They wanted you to spend money for the cards. That was the main concept of this one.
It's curious because if the annual releases were doing well enough that they still felt compelled to do annual releases, I don't understand why the free-to-play one failing, like why they wouldn't then go back to annualized Magic the Gathering releases, because they seem to do okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. And once I'm done with 2015, I will maybe go back to this one and see if there's anything I can clean up.
How many achievements are on the total list? I know you said 12 are discontinued.
For Origins. I mean, Duels has
49
total
Oof.
Chivos.
So you could still get a significant amount done, but you can't download it now, right? You said it's off the store.
I guess so.
Yeah, I was looking at it. It's been removed from the store, so if you had it, you can get it again. But
and I have all the Magic games complete now, but Magic 2015 does have an Xbox 360 stack as well. If I get that itch to complete it again, but probably not. All right, so that was Magic the Gathering 2015. While I have MichEll here with me, my co-op partner, I wanted to quickly mention that a couple weeks ago we talked about starting We Were Here Too, and we got through the first 3 levels. In the last 2 weeks, we have gone through all the levels, and then you have to redo it again with playing the opposite part as your partner. And in the second one, for We Were Here Too, you have to, you can use a guide if you don't know what to do, which we didn't use a guide the first go through, but we used one to find all the levers to pull, because you need to pull all the levers to, I guess you would say, get the best ending. I don't know if there's anything to spoil. We don't want to spoil anything, but if you don't want to spoil the puzzles, just want to know where the levers are, there was a YouTube video that we used to get that done. And MichEll, do you have any thoughts on this?
I have one quick story to tell,
Uh-oh.
if I can tell a quick story. Something that really encapsulates the experience of playing We Were Here with L,
With
if
Big L.
you guys would indulge me. So, just as Elle was alluding to explain We Were Here very quickly, in terms of the way the game is structured, We Were Here Together, or We Were Here 2 is structured the same way. Here, We Were Here Together is slightly different. It's a longer game. But the idea is you and your co-op partner have been separated as you walked into this dungeon or whatever. And in order to come back together, you have to solve a series of puzzles where you're feeding clues and information back to each other. The game is designed to be played using an in-game walkie-talkie. That's kind of a mess. It doesn't always work well, so stick with party chat. But the idea is you can only see what you see. So if you're doing a puzzle where somebody needs to select a triangle, a square, and a circle, one person sees a triangle, square, and the circle, and the other person has to be told this information and then figure out where to use it. So there's one puzzle in the game that's structured like one of those mirror puzzle type games, like think something like Fearful Symmetry and the Cursed Prince, where you have to move two symmetrical sides and occasionally intentionally hook an object by a rock so they split apart, or whatever else you have to do. We had done this where Elle was giving me the clues and I moved the pieces around. We got through it no problem at all. But when we had to go through the other way, we had so much trouble where I eventually had to have Elle load up the game on Twitch so I could tell him how to solve it.
It was backwards. So when you were giving me the clues,
Oh, sorry, yeah.
When you were giving me the clues, we got it, and then when it was time for me to give you the clues, we couldn't do it.
So and it's not structured like where you could take a picture because the grids are different. So it's just like put it up on YouTube or on Twitch. So we managed to get through. To be fair to Elle, that was the only puzzle we had to cheese that way. The rest of them we were able to do in the actual configurations the game intended. And that's, I want to say with the first We Were Here, there were it was randomized, but very limited randomization. So there's a walkthrough on TA that actually has like all the different potential things. We Were Here 2 seems to be randomized a little bit more thoroughly, so it's not quite so easy to cheese that way. But joking aside, it was completely fine except for that one puzzle. Otherwise, it took longer than the 2 to 3 hours, I think, to play naturally. But, it wasn't significantly longer than that. It was a good time.
It was a good time, and I look forward to getting to We Were Here Together, even though that one's supposed to be 6 to 8 hours. Some of our friends have told us it's the best one in the series.
That
and
it actually
more
has
of
a story.
Yeah, so curious to see how that goes.
Have you already bought it?
Mm-hmm.
We have it, yes.
Cool. I noticed that it incrementally increases in price from the first to the second to the third game. So
yes, it does.
as well as the completion times, it looks like as well.
Yes.
Remember, the first game dropped as a Games with Gold title. I believe it was launched right into Games with Gold. And then immediately after they put it in Games with Gold, the second game came out for $5 or whatever it was. And there was sort of this sense of like, now wait a second. They released the sequel while the first game is available for free before we even had a chance to play it, but fine, we'll buy in. And then We Were Here Together also came really shortly after that. But I don't think they've developed another one that I'm aware of or are working on another one.
I mean, there's definitely no other game like this where you have to communicate well.
There's I don't remember if it came out on Xbox. I know it's a VR game called like Don't Stop Talking or the Bomb Will Explode or something like that. Does that sound familiar?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is on Xbox.
I thought it had come there, but it's a very similar type thing where one person sees the bomb and everyone else has to, or the other person has to feed clues. Bomb Core in one of the Jackbox games is similar, where you only see what's on your screen and you all have to work together to feed clues to the person cutting the cable. But this one is the only one where the puzzles are more involved and they're varied. To the credit of the people who make the game, the puzzles are varied, which is nice. Like we didn't go from We Were Here, the first one, to the second one going like, oh, we already saw this in the last game. So that's one of the fun elements of it, is actually just understanding what the puzzle is before you even get about solving.
I mean, as Mattism and I were playing A Way Out, we kept thinking back to this game. Like, A Way Out is like a top tier version of this type of gameplay.
I think that's really fair. I think the one difference would be in A Way Out is you can see what your partner's doing.
That is true, yeah.
And you need that as a tool to solve things. So like when you're climbing back to back up the elevator shaft, like you need to see your partner. And so the game allows you to do that, where this is more call and response gameplay. But yes, anything by Hazel Light Studio is top tier version of how to do that style of gameplay.
Yeah, going in consumed by the darkness, going in blind is usually the best bet. Speaking of the darkness, I think you were going to bring up the darkness, weren't you, Nate, in our sale segment?
Oh my God. Segue.
Segue.
Terrible segue. I'm going to warn you.
No, actually, it wasn't.
It wasn't terrible.
Yeah, so I noticed that was on sale. Now, I have no personal experience with the Darkness or the Darkness 2, but I know that some people here have played at least one of them, and possibly most of two of them.
Oh, I have played both. And what were the sales prices?
Well, I hadn't gone into that. I wanted a little bit of backstory on, are the games good?
Well, okay, so you're looking for me to, okay, I will start then. I would highly recommend both at sale prices. Like the Darkness, the first one especially, was the kind of game you could walk into GameStop and buy the disc for $5 forever. And so but the Darkness was actually one of the first retail games I bought on my Xbox 360, knowing nothing about it. The Darkness is based on a comic book series. I had no idea about any of that stuff, but the aesthetic of the game is really cool. And yeah, I'm not going to go into any details about the story or anything like that, but the story is interesting to follow. There's one of those better, like, one of the more memorable moments, in my opinion, were like, oh, I've got to go make this right kind of thing. So very, very solid game. Darkness 2 is, I don't think, quite as good as Darkness 1 in some respects, because the first is the first, obviously. But it's also very good. There is some multiplayer achievements if you're interested in the completion, and maybe with people buying it on sale, you'll find some people to help. I'm happy to help with the darkness. I enjoyed both of them. I think I'm only missing 2 achievements in the first one, and I completed the second. I may be wrong. So they're really not too difficult in terms of actually earning the achievements, but they're just, the stories are good. They're good games to just sit down and enjoy the ride and the experience.
Well, yeah, I looked at the cover and I said, this looks like a game I'd want to play.
Mm-hmm.
That was for the first one. And of course, I looked at the second one and said, I've got the first one. I might as well get the second one. So The Darkness is $4 down from $20. It's a first-person shooter, 25 to 30 hours. It is backwards compatible. It has a walkthrough. It has multiplayer achievements that can be boosted with 2 people. There's also one achievement that requires 4 people. So if you can get a couple friends together, you can knock that one out and then just get your real friend to play the rest of the game with.
Isn't
The Darkness 2... Go ahead.
Isn't The Darkness known for having a little trick where you can go through the whole game on easy and then load it up on hard?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So last checkpoint just changed the difficulty to hard, and you should be able to just wrap it up really easy. So that's definitely something you can do. You do not need to struggle on the hardest difficulties.
The Darkness 2 is $6 down from $30. It is 15 to 20 hours. It's backwards compatible. It has a walkthrough. It does not have multiplayer. But it does require 2 playthroughs. The second playthrough is a New Game Plus playthrough. I don't know if it has that same difficulty cheat or not. And finally, the last game I want to mention, because we are running a little long, is The Bug Butcher. Do not overlook this game. This is a fun little action-packed title. It is $2.50 down from $10. It is a shoot 'em up. They say it takes 6 to 8 hours, and it has a walkthrough, which is crazy because you have a walkthrough for a shoot 'em up, whatever. So it's strategies maybe on the different levels, because some of them require you to think a little bit differently. This is the type of game. It's not, I can't remember what it's called. Pang's Adventure, I think, is this type of game. And I think maybe there's a title for this type of game where you're basically running from left to right along the screen and you're shooting up at enemies, and you just kind of have to recognize their patterns, like their bounce patterns or their flight patterns and their attack patterns at the same time. It's a fun game. It's very colorful. The graphics look a little bit like something you'd see in, I want to say Alien Hominid a little bit. But yeah, I think people should check this out. I feel like this is a diamond in the rough for an action shoot 'em up, and I would love for people to take a look at it and tell me if they think I'm crazy or not.
You're crazy.
You're crazy.
Do you know anyone who started it? Like, did you
I know
have to
that
take a look?
Mattism, my buddy Mattism, I know that he completed it.
Oh, okay.
Looks like it used to be on Game Pass a few years ago.
Was it on Game Pass?
I don't think so.
2018?
That doesn't
I don't think so.
sound familiar.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not positive. I see a bunch of friends have completed it though.
I feel like
Oh, wait. It does say there's an article. Yeah, I guess he was right.
Yeah, I see the article.
Must have been a
September 2017.
real brief appearance on Game Pass then. Wow, okay. So it was there a year?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, now we know.
Yeah, this looks just like Pang's Adventure. Or as I know it as Super Buster Brothers. But yes.
Or Doom.
It's a lot like Doom. Yep.
Anybody else have any sales recommendations? Michelle, maybe?
I do. So I have a totally selfish sale recommendation that I'm probably still not going to pick up yet, but Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 is on sale. It's not a great sale. It's $20 down from $30. But I love Tetris, and I've completed the first Puyo Puyo Tetris, which was only available as an import. Thanks, Elle. So, I mean, gotta go for that.
You're welcome.
Series completion, I guess. But again, not a great sale, but I don't know that it'll actually go that much less than that. So something to keep an eye on if you're interested in either of those franchises. Also wanted to just make a quick plea for Lost Odyssey. I know that a bunch of people got it for free at some point. I don't think it was quite Games with Gold, but they made it a free game for some reason, right around when the Xbox One was released. It's currently $6.24 down from $25. If you like JRPGs, especially if you grew up on the Final Fantasy games, This is the same DNA in terms of the development team. It's probably the last JRPG I really spent time with, and I loved every minute of this game. So if there is some chance you don't have this game, you're into this, I cannot recommend Lost Odyssey highly enough. This is a very, very reasonable price for it. And also just a quick shout out to Stickbold, a dodgeball adventure, which is currently $4.99 down from $9.99. This is a co-op dodgeball game. It's got just a really wacky sense of humor, and it's fun gameplay. TA says it's a 6 to 8 hour completion. My completion counter says I put 22 hours into it, so your mileage may vary. I don't think it normally takes that long. Just Elle and I were playing in couch co-op, so achievements only pop for one individual. It might be less if you're playing just straight through on your tag on your own. But fun little game, decent ratio if you're looking for that kind of thing. So that might be one you want to give a look at as well.
Yeah, I believe they talked about that game on the abandonment issues segment the other week.
Oh.
So that's a good one to abandon. Yeah, people actually play this game as a, you could play it as a 4-player party thing as well. There's a party mode. If we ever see each other again, we could do that.
That's true. That's true.
Remember, you unlock characters and throughout, theoretically. Yeah, I still need the completion on that game. Let's get it done.
What about you, Elle? You normally go for the cheapies and the quickies. Did you pick out any this week?
Yes, I did. I picked out games so easy. So easy. You're supposed to say, how easy are they?
How easy are they?
They're so easy that Foo Cuddly Poof completed them.
Oh.
And they are Mr. Pumpkin Adventure, which is I believe he loves that game a lot. That game is normally $4. It is an astounding $1.19. So if for some reason you missed out on this gem, now's the time. And then there's a game that he actually did like, the East Asia Soft Shmup Project Starship, which is $2.49, down from $5. But that one was actually fun and not Mr. Pumpkin's Adventure. So some two quick.
Not the Canadian version.
Well, the Canadian version, you have to go to Achievement Fest in Canada once they let you across the border. And you can meet up with Jables and MDP, but I don't see why anyone would want to meet those people.
And moving on, we have Games with Gold Reminder. This is your last podcast to get Indiana Jones, that original Xbox game. Everything else will still be there. Go and do that now, I guess. And moving along again.
In the year 2021, where games are coming soon, these are the games that are coming really soon.
So next week's game releases are as follows. On Tuesday, the 16th, we'll get Conan Chop Chop. This is a 1 to 4 player action adventure game with roguelike elements. And it's obviously set in the world of Conan the Barbarian, very cartoony-like. So there you go. On Wednesday, the 17th, we have Kick It Bunny. Now, this is in the series of the bunny games like Bunny Parking and Soko Bunny. This one's gimmick is where you kick these Tetris-like pieces into a shape. It might make something else, like maybe it's a dinosaur, but what I've saw in the trailer, it could be just random shapes. So it's like those games that I have with my kids where they have to put the blocks, turn them certain ways so that they fill all the spaces in the required shape. It's like that. So probably going to be pretty easy. Actually, I know it will be. I've already seen certain guide makers say that it takes an hour or less. So there you go. Kick It Bunny is that one. On the same day, on Wednesday, is our weekly East Asia Soft. And of course, they went with a shoot 'em up again. This happens to be from the Project Starship creators. So look at that. This one's called Void Gore. Saw nothing, nothing unique about it. It's kind of got demons in it. Shoot 'em up. Probably done within an hour is my guess. And that is on Wednesday. Thursday sees 2 more releases. Anodyne 2. And I don't know, guys. I remember Anodyne, kind of. It's kind of like a Zelda light game that you talked about, Elle. This one, this is actually the publisher or the developer's third game. They went with their second game. They went with Radalaika, and they are sticking with them. So Anodyne 2 is actually published by Radalaika. It looks to be quick, but the description says run, jump, and dive across vast, dreamy 3D landscapes, shrink into surreal 2D dungeons inside characters' bodies. It looks insane. I don't know the connection between the first game and the second game. It looks really weird.
It's not like Anodyne is such a well-known franchise that putting the name on there will encourage people to buy it who might not have otherwise bought it. Interesting.
I guess. I don't know. It looks a little weird, but it's not the weirdest on this list. In fact, moving on to Thursday. So that is Thursday's release. The second release on Thursday is King of Seas. I've been seeing this one kind of. It's an action role-playing game that you're a pirate ship. Some pretty cool things about it was the world's dynamic. So things that you do in the world will stay and affect other things from what I was reading. The combat system has nautical strategy to it where you need to shoot cannons and you need to take into account speed and the projectile, I don't know, some math equation. Anyways, you're a pirate ship and you're choosing, you're sailing the high seas, you're shooting other things, and you have skill trees and whatnot. So if you are looking to expand your playstyle from the Falconeer, where it's aerial vehicular combat, you can go right down to the sea with King of Seas for naval vehicular combat. Boom Blaster. These are the last ones are from Friday, February 19th. Boom Blaster. This is a platform combat adventure as they describe it. It's 2D. The art style looked actually really cool. It has low reviews, like less than 30 on Steam. It's been out for a while, so it's kind of mixed. This will kind of just come to see if it's a good platformer or not. I do like the art style, so maybe look at Boom Blaster for some of that if you are craving a new platformer.
I gotta say real quick, I was looking through at the developer and the publisher for that one. The publisher is Chili Dog Interactive. Now
they have been publishing a lot of stuff recently.
They have. I have a feeling that these guys are kind of the cookie cutter, kind of rattle like a East Asia Soft variety. It looks like, although these games don't seem to be as quick, I think we're seeing another, easier game publisher coming out. Looks like
it's definitely another publisher that's spitting them out. I mean, just last week we had Glittering Sword, so same publisher here. And then this game called Catch came out recently. It does seem like they are getting into that so it's like Ratalaika, East Asia Soft. It was Zidalon for a little bit, but it's kind of pushing back. This Chili Dog Interactive and then Jandu Soft and sometimes it's like they are just porting games as fast as they can, it seems. And so that is one for sure. They're probably subpar, to be honest, if we're being real. The next game coming out is probably the weirdest game that will come out this year, if I had to guess. It is called Puss. And if you happen to look this up, make sure Safe for Work search is on. As they describe it, it's an insane, absurd, and intense avoid 'em up game about a cat. And I cannot begin to describe the game other than you're kind of going through a maze at some point, and at some point it's like a shoot 'em up, but you're not shooting, you're just trying to stay alive, survive. And at some point there's a cat on a dolphin, and then lots of explosions and lasers. I can't really break it down any more than that. That's called Puss.
No boots, though.
It seems to be no boots. Seems to be getting decent reviews from what I saw. Anyways, Rodent Warriors. So I know what you're thinking. You're getting this. Rodent Warriors is an epic 2D roguelike RPG idle game about rodents. And I was in until they said idle. Like what I was seeing is it's not like pixely, like 16-bit pixelated graphics, but it's like, I don't know, like Devious Dungeon type graphics in a way. But yeah, you idle and you can upgrade your rodents. I believe the beaver is a wizard. And so, yeah, this one, if you're kind of into that, if RPG idle roguelike sounds like up your alley, look into Rodent Warriors. And the last one that comes out next week is called Speed Limit. And this one looks interesting. It's a non-stop genre warping arcade experience that never slows down. It has isometric vehicular chase scenes, top-down gameplay chase scenes, I think. It looked like they were chasing 2D side-scrolling platforming and guns. It looks interesting, to say the least. I have seen one negative review about it from somebody on Twitter, but other than that, it actually looks like a really interesting game. And that was called Speed Limit.
Is Keanu Reeves in it?
You know what? I thought that they were trying to make a what's the game called? What's the thing called?
Speed?
Is it not called Speed?
Yes, it is actually called Speed. No, it's actually called Speed 2. But
Speed 2.
Cruise Control. We'll just make it up. We'll just say Cruise Control.
I thought that there's like one section, like it looked like you're on more of a subway or train than a bus, but maybe. Who knows? Oh, and that was coming really soon. Thank you for listening.
There was one more.
Do you have another one?
I don't know. You have another one.
Do I? I don't think I have another one.
on the calendar you do, but in the breakdown you don't.
Oh yeah, I said it to myself as I was before the call. I wasn't going to mention it, but I guess since you brought it up, I will. Steven Universe Unleashed the Light is also coming out. Best I can tell, this has been out on phones, and it looks like a phone game. Looks turn-based. It's not one that I would probably recommend unless you're a real big Steven Universe fan.
Well, I am. Definitely. Have never heard of it.
Not a fan. Okay.
I was going to say, I quickly looked at some Anodyne 2 videos, and yeah, you start off in 3D, and you wind up going into 2D as well. So it's both. It's a 3D game, and then you shrink.
It's like bad 3D.
Yeah.
It's like Cone 2 to Cone 1.
But I can't decipher from the achievement list if it's going to be a quick completion where you don't have to play the whole game or not. That would kind of be disappointing for a game like this.
I mean, knowing the publishers, you kind of have to assume you won't have to. I kind of think that that's a requirement.
Yeah, on YouTube there's a full playthrough that's a 7-hour video, so very curious what they do with that one.
Yeah, until we get this, it will be hard to say, but hey, maybe you can review the second one for us.
I can't wait.
Good.
Anodyne
2. You know who can't wait either? Legohead 1977.
Oh,
he is our
Aw.
deadly contestant from G-Test this week. That's right. Legohead 1977 has bowed out, no longer in it. And so with that, we move on to period 19. This period sees the solo bonus as the OG double, where you have to double the TA score earned the last period. And the team bonus is called Game Time, where you have to earn 20 achievements from the card and board genre, and every teammate must do that. So maybe they will be playing Magic 2015. Might be able to score some boosting buddies there.
Great.
At least with the OG double achievement, they have to double the true achievement score, not the true achievement difference at this stage in the game. That would be so insane. But they can just dump a whole bunch of easy games and get whatever TA score they can to get there if they want to.
Yeah, definitely. It can, that can really get up there. I'm just quickly looking, because we only had that one elimination. We're still tracking, looks like 6 people on solo side, 2 teams, and they're all still very much in it, except for Bastion Reader. He better step it up. Of course, he still has 5 days left.
I think he rode really
Anyways,
close to the line last week, too. So that might just be the strategy at this point.
Yeah, he could be a line rider.
But good showing, Legohead. Very good.
Yeah, well done.
Absolutely. Yeah, making it this far is no easy feat. All right. Gamertag challenge, Nate.
The month is February. The Gamertag challenge is what the fug. There's no vowels. His wildcard game is Old Man's Journey. And any achievement or previous completion in Old Man's Journey will give you 1 bonus draw. The bonus is Xbox Gold, where achievements containing the text OLD, or examples are old, cold, and bold, are all worth 1 draw per achievement, limit 1 per game. We're not going to make the same mistake we made last month.
Saucy wins.
I can hear you read the word draw so many times, just over and over.
Draw.
Okay, moving on to our last segment, Brag Camp. As always, I'm going to start out with the completions, and this week I have decided to do it a little different. We did not have anybody really hit like right on the nose a 50 or 100 completion, So I picked people who are very close to those kind of numbers. So if you hear your name, I hope you're thinking about what you might unlock for that big milestone coming up soon. The Alpha Seagull has reached 90 completed games, as well as Hatton 90. So maybe you should stop, Hatton. You should be just done.
You're done.
That's it. It's over. Time to make a new
Give me
tag.
Yeah.
Hatton 100.
That's right. LAX Jester and Chesno both are at 195, so getting close to that 200 mark. Blue Thunder, Elroy's best bud, is at 590 games, so just 10 away from 600. And Wild West 08 is at 690. So you guys be thinking about what you're going to get for those big completion milestones, except for Hatton. You stay right there, bud. For completion percentage, we had some big players here. We had Fighter X93 Chip and Johnny Delicious. They both hit 54% recently. Our buddy Fareem Hole hit 55%. Saucy Slingo at 61%. Raw Sauce Ross at 73%. And Matrarch at 76%.
In ratio, we have someone playing difficult games. It's Dan Pacifics with a TA ratio of 1.9. In streaks, we have a Luke the Duke 268 currently with 100 days, Raw Sauce Ross with 500 days, Praux with 1,800 days, Matrarch with 2,700, and Mr. Gompers also with 2,700 days.
In Achievements 1, Hatton may have completed 90 games, but he now has 7,500 achievements. Alex RD is up to 8,500 achievements. Chesno, did he have 95 completions and 95 or 195 and 9,500 achievements? There's some parity there. Survivalist is 15,500 achievements. Icefire TN, 16,500 achievements. We have Creature spelled backwards because I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that. Cabo 73 and Quick Don't Die all hit 17,000 achievements. Elroy OMJ. All right, we're past that now. 28,500 achievements. Prue at 29,000 achievements. Railbait at 34,000 achievements won. And Planting 42 at 35,000 achievements won. Moving on to Gamerscore, Johnny Delicious is up to 75,000 Gamerscore. Eliphalet 77 hit 400,000. Matthew H. Hoo, he's got 500,000 Gamerscore. Red 047 at 650,000 Gamerscore. And the last time I was on, Prue was at 980,000. He is now up to 990,000 Gamerscore. So maybe the next time I'm here, he will be our next millionaire.
In TA score, Aftos 84 has 500,000 TA score. Bastian Reader 1.1 million TA score. Ross 1.2 million. And Nate's friend Mattism 1.3 million TA score. In everybody's favorite category, leaderboards in alphabetical order, Alex R. Davies is in the top 20,000 of TA Gamerscore leaderboard of all of TA, and Alex R. Davies as well is in the top 2,000 of the TA difference leaderboard for Vayners, which of course is the only leaderboard that matters. Bastion Reader's in the top 20 of the USA leaderboard for Shmups. Nice. Top 20 in the USA. Chesno, top 1,000 England TA leaderboard for card and board. Eliphalet 77 is in the top 50 of the TA difference leaderboard for Vayners and top 20 overall Gamerscore leaderboard for Vayners. I forget what game he's working on now. Oh no, he just did Gato Roboto. That's what he was doing. And I believe March is Hollow Knight month. That sound right? You guys gonna?
That's the plan.
You guys gonna work on that too? Doubt.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'll give it
It's
an
time.
achievement or two.
It's
That's
time.
a hard one, right?
I don't think it's. I mean, I think there's some difficulty, but it's
I think
mostly
it's
long.
lengthy. Yeah, exactly. It's a commitment.
We should all be committed for doing this podcast. Hatton 90, who needs to stop completing games, but is allowed to get sports achievements. He is in the top 5,000 England TA leaderboard for boxing and top 1,000 England leaderboard for casino. What? Is casino a sport? Why not? Definitely used to see poker on ESPN. Quick Don't Die is in the top 5,000 TA leaderboard for aerial and top 50 TA leaderboard for party. Ross is in the top 1,000 of the TA difference leaderboard. Simso is in the top 50,000 of the TA difference leaderboard. Sir Polygon is in the top 10,000 of the TA leaderboard. Alpha Seagull is in the top 1,000 of the New York TA leaderboard already. Wow, he just started in the top 1,000. It's going to catch us soon, MichEll. Wakapeil is in the top 20 of the TA difference leaderboard for Battle Royale and the top 10 of the TA leaderboard for Battle Royale. And our friend LAX the Jester is in the top 10,000 of the Gamer Scored leaderboard. Want to give a quick shoot out to Freemhole, who reached the big 4-0 on February 4th.
Oh, he completed 40 years.
He did. He did not pull a Freem. Or did he?
That's actually good.
I mean, he's been, running with the wrong crowd lately, so we're going to have to straighten him up. And he needs to hang out with some cool people like KooshMoose and his friend Mattism and Saucy Slinger.
I know that guy.
Yeah.
I know that guy.
Yeah. I joined them in party chat the other day to wish Freem a happy birthday, and he met that with a bunch of swear words. Something to do with Diablo 3. But I'm sure I exacerbated that. And Tropan, he celebrated his birthday on February 6th. So 2 birthdays to 2 prominent community members. Happy birthday, you guys. And that was Bragcamlamation Point.
Alrighty, we don't have any community side quest challenges this week, but if you would like to submit a question, just ask us in a way that is applicable to you. Maybe check the show notes. Figure it out. Okay, that's been us for this week. Don't forget, Leapfrog is coming up right after this. Leapfrog talk with the 3 out of the 4 winners. So L, tag your it to keep this podcast going. I want to remind you that you can find us on Twitch, Twitter, Discord, Patreon, any of those social network places. We'd love for you to hang out, especially on Discord. That's where the conversation keeps going. We've had a lot of new joiners recently, and they're diving in feet first, and it's been great getting to know them. And so, yeah, with that, we will conclude the panel portion of level 133.
And class dismissed.
I had one here.
What do you have? An outro?
I lost it.
An outro, an outro, an outro, an intro, an outro. A belly. Is your belly button an intro or an outro?
I can't remember what it is. I'll just have to go with this one. The worst thing about prison was the Dementors. Bye.
What?
Hey, little fella. What are you doing here?
Excuse me. I didn't mean to trespass.
Oh, no, wait now. You're not trespassing. There's always room for one more frog in the forest, especially one your size.
Hello, this is Special Correspondent Big L from Achievement Hunting 101. I've been on assignment all week, preparing, in air quotes, to interview 3 of the 4 finalists from Leapfrogs, the True Achievements contest in which people are just darn crazy. We have with us the illustrious MADeyePadEYE. Say hello.
Hello. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad, not too bad.
All right. Would you like me to call you MADeyePadEYE?
Yeah, that's fine, MADeyePadEYE. Idiot. Paddy.
Yeah, all right.
I'm not
Maddie?
too fussed.
Maddie. All right, well, we don't want to say what comes after Maddie. We have Mr. Android.
Close enough.
Yeah. How do you pronounce it?
I pronounce it Odnetnin.
Whoa, that was really fast.
Yeah. It's
as I noticed on the podcast last week, it's Nintendo spelled backwards.
It is Nintendo spelled backwards.
And yeah, I know it took me a long time to figure that one out.
I've had that handle for ever. It's been like a screen name for mine for I can't even count how many years, but there's only a handful of people that have actually sat there and figured out it's Nintendo spelled backwards.
done, figured it out, and felt very proud of myself. So I'll be calling you Android throughout this lovely talk.
That works for me.
And last but certainly not least, we have the highly talented and beautiful Inigo Montoya 80.
Hello, hello. At least you're able to get my name right, unlike some other folks who we will leave nameless at this point, okay? They know who I'm talking about.
People get your name wrong?
Yes.
Inconceivable. Oh.
It is not Indigo Toyota.
The fourth finalist, Black Blood?
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, he could not be with us today. So
He's still sleeping.
we'll be talking about him. And if anything really bad is said, just don't tell him. Or do tell him. That's fine. All right. So these three gentlemen were in the Leapfrog tournament, in which every day the object was to get one more achievement than the previous day. So 1 achievement the first day, 2 achievements the second day, etc., etc. So, Android, how many achievements did you guys wind up getting?
Each one of us, by the end of 130 days, earned 8,515 achievements.
Holy cow. So how many days was that?
130 days.
130 days, right?
Yeah.
You came to a collective decision to stop going?
Correct. I think we all figured our drive was there to get to 150. We all had the game capacity to do 150 days, but I know physically I was starting to fall out, and a little bit mentally. And I don't know
just
how
a little
long.
bit mentally.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure entirely how many more days I could go before my wife killed me. So,
I think that was the X factor for a lot of us. I know Android and I had a lot of discussion, leading up to us 4 talking collectively, and we had discussed our marital situations, with our wives, and how they were both very supportive, but at some point you could only go to the well and ask for the acceptance so long,
right.
Before it's like, okay, enough. Eventually, I think one of our, and I think MADeYE was in a very similar situation, just based off the loose conversations we had before. One of our wives just finally said, "That's it. It's done."
It is fascinating. Not to stereotype, but if you would ask me who's going to go far in this contest, I would have said probably a bachelor, someone who lives alone. But here we are with all of you guys having wives and families at home.
And surprisingly, all 4 of us have jobs. Full-time jobs
and,
at that.
And yeah, that too.
Yeah. That would have also been another stereotype, I think, as well as the unemployed person or...
Well, you need some sort of bank to buy games for this thing, huh?
That is a true point.
Yeah.
I know that in reading some of the forums, initially everyone's like, oh, the people who are going to succeed the hardest are going to be the ones that don't have to, go into work all day. But we definitely had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate to be working from home for probably half of the competition and sort of only having to go in every now and again to my work, because here in the UK at the moment it's trying to stay at home if you can stay at home, and only socialising with people if you need to, because obviously with the whole COVID situation that's going on at the moment, so a lot of it was games that I could play while working.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the recent events have definitely it's been terrible, but for people's gaming, it's been pretty good. Yeah. Imagine if we had if we were in 1918, we wouldn't have such luxuries. But we have games, and more games.
I know that.
All right. Well,
I know that the COVID situation was the main reason I thought that this was going to be my real like one shot at it because, like Matt, I said, I got to work from home for this, so I was able to wake up early, get some gaming done, immediately flop over to work, and as soon as I was done, get back to gaming. No driving involved.
Yeah, I was actually just gonna say something very similar. The lack of commute time, when you factor in when you take that out of your normal day, you're basically adding two hours into, in and around there.
Yeah.
Of extra time that you wouldn't normally have.
It was also handy times where I would have my lunch break, and it wasn't a lunch break, it was a quick half an hour, 45 minutes, and get 10, 15 achievements, and then get back to work break.
Yep.
Right.
Wow. Well, hopefully people get those commutes back so they can listen to the podcast. So there are some community questions that I have for you guys and some staff questions as well.
Ooh.
I know that you guys had an article written up on TA about you guys. I did not read it because I just wanted to have surprise answers for myself.
Fair enough.
So forgive me if there's any questions that were already asked on there. There probably will be. So keeping that in mind, staff member Matrarch, aka MichEll, asked a question or four. Let's start with, at what point did you decide you were making a serious push? We'll start with MADeYE.
That's quite hard because I never really thought about making a push as such. I play a lot of games because I dive a game every day. So my catalogue's quite big for what I've actually played compared to what I've completed. So I just sort of would wake up and sort of play. I needed to score, so that was my main reason to actually do it. So I kind of, maybe when it got down to about 25 people, I started looking and thinking maybe I've got enough games to play, achievements to get, that I could make a push, as you put it. But I never really there was never one moment where I went, do you know what, I'm gonna go for first.
Interesting. All right, Inigo?
It was, in fact, I think back on this, I was in a party with you and MichEll one night. It was early on in Leapfrog, and you guys, MichEll had asked me that question, and at that time I said my goal was to get to day 80, which was my initial goal, and then when I got into around day 80 and kind of looking at the lay of the land, so to say, realizing how many people were left, I thought, okay, I think I can make a push for this. Obviously, early on in the competition, I saved certain stuff for the back end, the stretch, so to say, for that exact reason. And it was right around day 80, I had the conversation with the missus and said, this is what it's going to take. This is how much time it's going to take, and take it from there. So it was pretty deep into the competition when I made that decision.
All right, Android.
I'm actually a little bit different from that. When I saw the competition load up, I personally was like, I'm going to go and be number one. I walked into it planning to be number one, and even my friends who are all avid gamers, they asked me, are you shooting for day 20? Are you looking to be in the top 200? I said, no, man, you shoot for the top. You aim for number one. It's number one or bust. And I never let go of that goal from the beginning. So I was pushing from day one. And
All right.
I remember in the beginning, I saw a couple of people who were doing a lot easy games, like in the first 10 days, and I was like, well, you guys are going to burn out real quick.
Yeah, and most people did. I believe there was a badge for getting through the first few days. And
10 days.
Yeah.
And that's when I think we saw the biggest spike. They just did a little stats analysis on that, and I think almost half the competition was out by day 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of my friends just get the badge pretty much in any TA competition. The badge is the thing they want. They don't see themselves as someone that wants to be competitive or go for that top spot or compete. So I understand why a lot of people bow out as soon as they get the badge. That's what I'm going to do with warboats. I'm trying to hit that boat and I'm stopping.
Well, there was an actual prize at stake, right? Rich from TA offered up, I believe, 1 month for every day that to the winner. So, for example, if the winner had gone 130 days, it would be 130 months of TA Pro, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is correct. And
so there was it was more than bragging rights, at least.
There was, and I don't think we explicitly had this conversation amongst ourselves, but I at least was under the distinct impression that really none of us four honestly cared about the TA Pro. It was a nice little cherry on top. But I was under the impression, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but that's the feeling that I got after talking with these guys, that none of us really were thinking about that.
No, I was sitting on 2 years of TA Pro anyway, so it wasn't like I was thinking, oh yeah, I really want that 11 years. No,
no. And I just re-upped during the sale that Rich had, at the end of the year. I bought the 3 years, so I was good to go for some time myself.
Yeah, I was kind of in the same boat. The competition's prize of 1 month for every day still in it was icing, but honestly, I just wanted to make sure that I was all about making sure that my name was recognized on the site. I don't have a lot of spotlight to my name, so it was like, look at me, I did that.
Well, I'll be honest, I did not know you, and now I do. So thank you for Leapfrog for that. You guys have all come into the community also and been chatting in our Discord, so that's been awesome. I have a random question. What was the cutoff time every night?
It was 9 a.m. for me.
Oof. Mine was 4 a.m. was for me.
Okay. All right. So I was going to ask if MADeYE had a slight edge there, but I guess either way, he would probably be going to sleep before worrying about that.
Yeah, well, I don't know if
he'd be waking up at 8 in the morning to pop.
Yeah, I don't know if it was an edge of any sort, because I mean the only edge I had was I was already an hour into my working day before cut-off finished. So the first hour I could just, as long as I'd got the previous day's achievements, I could actually fully commit to an hour's worth of work, not thinking about anything other than achievements.
Yeah, my cutoff time was 3 in the morning. It was 4 in the morning before daylight savings, and then it was 3 in the morning. Which the 4 in the morning was a lot easier to work with.
Yeah, it provided that extra buffer, because that's what I was using that. Really, there's not, at least looking on the surface, there's not really an edge like MADeYE said, because his cutoff time was 9 a.m. If he was wrapped up, his day starts basically when his actual day starts, so he has a full cycle of time when his workday is over, whereas Android and I are a little bit different. We could sacrifice a little bit of sleep on the back end as a buffer, basically. If we were kind of falling behind, you could just push that extra hour and say, okay, I can stay up just a little bit later, get these couple in, and still be good.
All right. Michelle also asks if there were any scares or close calls throughout the competition. We'll start with MADeYE.
I don't call it a scare, but I did forget to get all my achievements one night. I thought I had, and literally, I've got a close sort of like net of a couple of friends that were looking at games and telling me stuff throughout the competition, just because they know how competitive I am in general. And I've been in a party with them. I'd got my achievements also, I thought. Went downstairs. It was about 10:30 at night for me. So got into bed and was watching TV with my wife, winding down before going to sleep, and I get a random Discord message from a friend saying, "You do understand you've only got 60 achievements. You need 61, you idiot." And I mean, I could have gone to sleep, got up, quickly ran upstairs and got the achievement in the morning, but I just turned around to my wife and says, "I'll be back in 10 minutes." Went upstairs and got my achievement and then came back to bed. So that was the only time. I mean, the closest I was ever to cut off was probably 2.5 hours, but that was through my own fault of basically playing longer games rather than playing quicker games. It was through choice rather than actually ever being like, "Oh my god, I need 10 achievements in the last hour, what am I going to do?" kind of thing. I was always positive with and knew when I was going to kind of finish.
So your friend kept you in an extra 70 days?
Yeah, basically my wife blames my friend Thor for keeping me in that competition. So his name is Dirt in my house. No
Christmas cards.
No more. No more friendly Christmas cards to Thor. No. And it makes it even better because my wife physically knows him as well. So it's not like a virtual friend, even though we met virtually. But he's someone that my wife physically knows, and is just like, no, he's not allowed in my house now.
Yeah, she's gonna be like, in 10 years she'll be like, social distancing. What about you, Android? Any scares or close calls?
A lot of the close calls happened by design. I spent a lot of time trying to play it as close to the wire as I could. Again, I didn't want to use all the easy games when I didn't have to. Those were kind of emergencies. But my biggest scare was literally when I got knocked out of the competition in week 72, because I and 8 other people, I had 15 achievements left at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I timed it out. I realized I got scanned in like every half an hour because of Pro. So I was like, great, I'll earn the last 15 achievements, I'll go to bed, it'll be 1:30 in the morning, my clock-in time was at 3, it's fine. But what I was not anticipating was TA was doing scanner updates and repairs that night. And the scanners were doing their updates and maintenance, and they started at 1:28 before my 15 achievements got in. So I wound up sitting there watching the clock until 3 in the morning, just watching the clock count down, to find out me and 8 other people who had all done, or me and 7 other people, there were 8 of us, all had the same situation where we had all clocked in all of our achievements an hour early, but because of the scanners, we never got scanned in until about half an hour after the cutoff time. So we called out that it was unfair and I said, if my Xbox had screwed up, if my internet went out, if Microsoft was having a bad day, which it's Microsoft, so of course they would, I was like, I can accept that. I wouldn't be happy about it, but I can accept that. But this is a TA site event, and TA just screwed me up. I can't. Please let me back in. Please let all of us back in. And we all got back in, but there was a caveat with the fact that any achievements that any of us earned before we got brought back into the competition didn't count because of the way that the system is set up for the competition. So I actually wound up losing out on 13 achievements earlier in the day that I had earned.
Oh no!
In D4. I was like, oh, damn. So actually, even though collectively we each earned 8,515, I actually earned 8,528, but 13 of them didn't count. So I got back in during week 72 after I had been unceremoniously dropped because of server updates.
All right, that's a cool story, though.
Oh, God, I'm so glad I got back in.
Are you really,
when
though?
when that forum post happened, I don't really talk in forums very often because, I mean, I'm not a massively big talker, except for when I'm in parties. I was devastated for you guys. I didn't know any of the 8 personally, but I just felt really bad for you guys. So, I mean, I'm really glad that you came back in. I mean,
I appreciate that. It was the worst feeling, and I know that a lot of the competitors who were still in it, there was nothing but an outcry of support. Like I'm used to the internet being a cold, dark, cynical place. So when I saw many people going, "Oh God, these guys deserve to be back in. That's so unfair. Please consider letting them back in." I was shocked and a little bit humbled at the fact that there were that many people that were like, "Yes, they do deserve it." So I was happy about that.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like with MADeYE, I'm not big on the forums, and I felt bad for these guys, and I actually went in that day too to try to at least just try to keep everybody a little bit on the calmer side, offering, hey, just continue business as usual, and this will kind of get sorted out.
Right.
That's what I was at least trying to offer, that little bit of guidance for those that were affected by it, because it was a really awful scenario to watch unfold. It really was. But Rich runs a pretty tight ship too, so I felt that it would get corrected very quickly.
Yeah, I'm pleased that it was. Obviously, but
yeah, I did notice a lot of camaraderie in this competition, which was nice to see, but kind of boring as an outsider. I want to see some trash talking.
I mean,
you going down, sucker.
We can still make that happen, it's...
Yeah.
Now that we got all the brunt behind us.
But were there any scares for you real quick, Inigo?
Really, honestly, nothing that wasn't self-inflicted, like MADeYE had said earlier. Just kind of sticking with a longer game on the weekends, staying up later than usual on the weekends to kind of help preserve some of the easier stuff for the work weeks. But almost all self-inflicted, really. I did, I guess, moderately have a little bit of a scare on, of all days, December 26th. I did wake up and had no power in my home that morning, and we did have an individual in the competition late after day 100 that ended up getting eliminated because he lost power with, I think, 4 hours left before cutoff.
Yeah.
And he was scrambling trying to use his laptop. Laptop died on him, and he ended up falling, I think, like 15 achievements short from staying in. Around there, I don't know the precise number, and that's all I thought of when I woke up on the 26th was, wow, no power this morning. Gonna be a interesting day to say the least.
Santa didn't bring you a surge protector or anything like that?
I do have a generator. And trust me, the contingency plan was about to start to go into place. Outside of my generator and laptop.
I learned how to tether from my phone when that incident happened, just in case I'll drop Wi-Fi or anything like that. I was like, it's something that I need to know about. I've heard about it, but
I did spend an entire weekend, I think around it was in the 60 range, something like that, maybe 50. I was tethered to my phone all weekend because I had no internet.
In the Discord, we sometimes call that toilet Minecraft. when you get those last minute Minecraft points from at work for GTask or something like that.
Yeah.
You would be doing a lot of toilet Minecraft.
And we had, and having a personal conversation with Android, we both had our list of, and ironically we called it the same title, in case of emergency, break glass, list of games that we both, and I think our list was probably almost identical.
I think it was. Like, I
was.
remember when you shared your list, I was like, oh yeah, that's virtually everything on my list. All right.
Yeah.
No, that's so insane. You guys like teaming up and stuff. It's
I felt left out because I had no list. My list basically was
you should have been in the Discord.
Very short. Yeah.
I do. From what I've talked briefly with Inigo, I know you guys were keeping track of the other people's like which 0 to 1 hour games they still hadn't played.
Yeah.
Did you all do that?
I know I did, and it was chiefly because I wanted to. At a certain point, I started wondering how much longer this could go on. So I was like, okay, who has anything left? Oh, geez, we all do. Okay.
And I'm going to actually kind of, just speak a little bit for Black Blood here. He did share with us that he wasn't necessarily, I think him and MADeYE were in the same boat. They weren't necessarily looking at what everybody else had. They were more focused on what they were doing. Because when I shared my opposition research with the group, he made a comment. He said somebody's been spying.
All right.
I kept hoping that that eventually it's gonna be like, okay, all right, everyone's run out. It's just gonna be me, and then I can sleep.
If only it was that simple, right?
If only.
Well, here's a little tidbit for everybody in the group here. Speaking of like the opposition research, I just happened to kind of glance over the TA Pro Discord, and they were talking about apparently Leapfrog over on True Trophies is on day 139.
Oh God.
Yeah. So
what?
Yeah.
It's called Vita, though, isn't it? For True Trophies. Yeah, they've got so many stacks of games.
That's what Shadow had mentioned in a comment. He had said that apparently PlayStation is a lot more friendly with the easier stuff. So it's weighted a little bit differently.
I think each I Ratalaika game alone has like 6 stacks.
Yeah, that's also not taking anything against the PlayStation crowd. It's just they've got the same game many times.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound fun.
They do, yeah.
No, there's only so much more pixel I can take at this point. I think I've had my fill for a couple of months.
All right. We opened up some questions to our patrons as well. You guys probably know Chewy on Ice from TA. He asks the obvious question: if another Leapfrog happens in the near future, will you guys be jumping back on the horse, or I guess leaping over it again?
No.
We'll start with Inigo this time.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm just jumping in. No chance. I won't have a wife.
I'll tell you, I'm going to join the I'm in it for the badge crowd at that point. That's it. Maybe the 10 days, and might even be lucky if I grab that badge at that point, because since Leapfrog has ended, I think I've maybe earned a handful of achievements, if that.
If the format changes, I'd be all for it, but I can't do another one like this. One, like MADeYE said, my wife would leave me, but also I don't know how much I did this now because, as the aforementioned, working from home because of COVID. I don't think I'm gonna get that lucky again.
Well, you've also exhausted a ton of easy games, right?
Yes.
It's always more
another
easy
10 come
games.
out every day, but still.
There's always another, yeah.
I guarantee you, just based off of, our intelligence, what we put together here, we all had more than enough bullets to keep loading that gun up. And we had plenty more if we wanted to make another run, but I'm with the other guys too. I, on a personal level, wouldn't do that to my wife, let alone you know what, that was it. I'll support anybody if they need some help and guidance for their run. I'll provide some input.
So in short, I think we would all join for the badge.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good answer. Let some other people go crazy. Going back to what Inigo just said about only getting a handful of achievements since. Jay Black asked, now that it's over, are you taking a break from gaming or achievement hunting? And if not, are there any games that you put off playing that you are now going to jump into? We'll start with MADeYE.
I haven't obviously been heavily scoring. I've still got my brand new game a day every day since Leapfrog finished. And I haven't started any games that I wanted to. It's still all trash. But I do plan on playing Phoenix Rising. It's because I just don't want to get into a game and play it, because I've been playing solid for 3 months pretty much, and I just didn't fancy playing a game that I knew I was going to have to put 40 or 50 hours into yet. I wanted to maybe play an hour, half an hour here. I've got loads of Gems of War to catch up with as well, so I've been playing that, and I'm nowhere near any new achievements in that one.
I don't know how you people have time for Gems of War on top of everything else.
10, 15
Are you in
bursts.
the same guild as MichEll?
I am, yes.
Okay. Yeah, she plays that game like 5 hours a day, and I'm like, she's like, eh. But she seems to still enjoy it.
I hate it.
Do it because you feel you have to?
No. It's one of those games that I actually do. When I say I hate it, I enjoy it for brief. There's sort of like moments in the month where I actually really enjoy sitting there, matching some gems up, doing a bit of strategy, especially when Guild Wars is on. If anybody has ever played Gems of War, it's a time of once a month that you physically battle other guilds. So that's the strategic part I really enjoy. But the grind in it, it's just grind after grind after grind, and that's the bit I don't enjoy. But you need to be in a guild. And they keep
adding new ones.
Yeah, but you need to be in a guild to be able to do any of this stuff, really, to be able to get the resources. So if you don't grind, you're not in a guild anymore, and if you're not in a guild anymore, there's no grind. So it's kind of like a big circle constantly. But before Leapfrog, I had probably about 8 or 10 million gold, as they call it in Gems of War, stored. So I was able to sort of put my resources in every week into the guild through backburning what I'd stocked up. But I ran out of stocks, and I basically said to my the GM of the Guild Wars, I can't do this anymore. I can't play and do Leapfrog. And I'm really sorry, Leapfrog comes first. But then we stopped, so the guild's back.
I also play an avid amount of Gems of War, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh my goodness!
There's also Gears Pop on top of that.
I always call that game video game crack. So are there any games that you look forward to getting back into, Android? And did you stop gaming for a few days after, or you just kept on plowing through?
So first off, I put all of the Neo Geo games I downloaded in a bin, and I said later. But
so bad.
I haven't stopped gaming after the Leapfrog competition got done, half because I am a gamer, but also because on TA I have a achievement streak of 2,381 days, so didn't want to lose that achievement streak. But also I've been playing a lot less due to having to make up. My wife made a list of things I have to make up for in the amount of time I spent gaming. What I am excited to get back to, though, and from the moment I got off of Leapfrog, and you can see it in the one achievement I've earned a day since, I've played a lot of Smite lately. Oh, I'm so happy to be back to Smite.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I'm not grand at it because I can only play like after work, and even then it's in small bursts. So I play a lot of Arena, but I haven't played Smite in 4 months. So to get back into it, and with the new season having been released for Smite on Tuesday, basically getting to start fresh, it's a good time.
All right, so you're all into those FTP games, huh?
My genre, unfortunate for this entire competition, is normally strategy and RPGs. So that is none of the games I could play during Leapfrog because they are all 800 hours.
Yeah. All right, Inigo.
Yeah, since it ended, I really haven't played much of anything. Just kind of cold turkey. You know, I know AndroidOdnetnin and Blackblood all had extensive streaks going on TA. I was the low man on the totem pole with that one, with my streak ending at 147 days when Leapfrog was over. I took a concerted effort to actually just stop it and step away for a little while. I took some time kind of returning. Wakapeil had helped out Android and myself during Leapfrog, and I had promised in turn I would help him complete How to Survive. You know, so it took a little bit of time cashing in some favors for some folks, if you will, returning them. And just now, kind of on cruise control and step back. And like Android had said, his genre is RPG type stuff. I actually benefited a little bit through Leapfrog because racing is my preferred genre, and racing games tend to come with a good bit of front load, and a lot of games, especially milestone games, tend to have a lot of very quick achievements early on in their games. So being kind of in that genre, and I look forward to getting back to some of these racing games that I've been missing out on.
Interesting. We'll segue that one into a question Retro Chief asked. Is there any game they only got the quick achievements in that they'll be going back to for the completion because of enjoyment and not because they are a completionist? Slight smile emoji. I know Inigo's answer. I'll go with him first.
Actually, one of them that I played that I was kind of surprised with because it's not normally my genre was Iron Cryptical. I was enjoying that game when I played it. It did have some front load to it, and I'm actually kind of excited to go back to it. Again, it's outside of my wheelhouse, not a genre I would typically play, but it is definitely something I thoroughly enjoyed. And also, we're going to direct this one at Retro. I am going to finish up Connect Nat Geo. Not for enjoyment purposes.
Gosh.
But Retro was he's a good fella, for sure. In fact, he let me borrow a stack of games for the competition, because if anybody's looked at 360 titles on eBay or Amazon here lately, they're starting to become a little pricey.
Yeah, no, I noticed that.
Yeah, and Retro, was very kind to open up his entire collection and let me borrow a handful of 360 titles that would benefit me.
Android? Any games where you got the beginning achievements and you said, I'll come back to this later?
There were a couple games I know that I got the early achievements for. Skyfall, was it Skyfall? Skyhill, that was one. I like that kind of strategy type of resource management game, and I had a blast playing it, and I got, I think, 80% of the achievements, and was like, all right, I'll come back to you. And weird though it may be, a lot of the visual novel games that you could power through in about 5 minutes, I didn't read anything that was happening in those. So even though I got all the achievements and they are literally 5-minute long completions, I kind of want to know what I was playing. So I'll probably go through and like power through the 3 hours worth of visual novel to just figure out. I mean, someone made the story. I kind of want to know what happened. So.
No, you don't.
I do though.
Yeah, there's the one with like the dogs. No.
As a guy who played How to Boyfriend, I'm fine.
That sounds better than most of them.
I mean, it was a visual novel about everyone is some avian bird, and that's kind of oxymoronic, but some avian, and they're all doing all the tropes, so you could date a pigeon. I have no words for that. That's the whole premise.
What are we playing at this point?
Right?
What are we subjecting ourselves to?
Like, you get to a point where you're like, I really want to know what it is I just played. Clearly there's doggos all over the screen. I don't know why. Someone's a spy. Someone's a hologram. What's happening in the story? So even though I beat the game, I kind of just want to go through it just once to figure out what it is I subjected my gamer card to.
So, MADeYE, were there any games that you started to get the beginning achievements of that you will be going back to try to complete it?
There's two of note. One I got a preview code of, and it was Tyrannus, and I was gutted because I played through the whole game, got, I think it was 42 out of the 44 achievements out of it. And there's two endings to the game, and I did the whole get the achievement, quit out, dashboard, reload my save, and was able to get the second one, but the second one was broken.
What game was that?
I let it play all the way. Tyrannus. It's been out on Steam for probably 3 years.
Okay, Tyrannus.
It came out 2 weeks ago, I think, or a week ago. I've had it for like 3 or 4 weeks, so I don't know the actual release date. And when I dashboarded and came back in, my save had gone, so I had to replay the whole game again to get that achievement. And in the middle of Leapfrog, I could not commit 5 hours to get one achievement, so I said, I'll play that when it gets done, and hopefully I'll get first place. But no, I missed out on that because on the 129th day it got released to the general public, and someone else finished it before I did. I was a little gutted. So I will go back to that one just because I've got, I think, 2 achievements left in it to get. And there's a game called Freedom Finger, which is
I love that game.
Shmup. And I think I've got 2 or 3 achievements left in that, but they're what I would class as the harder ones, with a no death runs on it on a couple of levels. And again, I wasn't, even though it might only take 20-30 minutes, I wasn't really prepared to spend that amount of time while leapfrogging to get one achievement, even though it would be well earned. So they're 2 from the games that I've played through Leapfrog that I want to go back to and finish. But there's quite a few, if I'm honest. Lots of ACA games.
If ACA would just come out with some fighting games. So, Jay Bulls also asked, did you make any deals with your family to let you compete as much as you did? I.e., if you let me slack on my chores, I'll do yours when this is all over. We'll start with Android.
So I had to. My wife has been very supportive of me in this whole competition. God bless her. But as we got into the later stages, especially into January, she started, let's say, being less responsive to my staying up until all hours of the night and then getting up at the crack of dawn, before the crack of dawn. So the deal that I made her was, I need you to make a list. Just a list of all the things that I need to make up to you, because when this is all over, we're going to go through that list from top to bottom, and I will make it up to you just bear with me until this is over. And that's kind of where I am now. Like, the past couple of days, at least for the past week, has been kind of cleaning up our living space and making sure all of our finances are in order, because we wanted to go house hunting at a certain point this year. So there's a whole lot that I'm now making up for. That was the deal. The rest of my family, not so much. I live an hour away from them, so I can just kind of make it up. But my wife had to make a deal. So,
hey, till death do us part, baby. She has no right to get mad at you for anything. Totally. An ego.
Actually, there was, on our end, there was no deal made. Honestly, it's kind of strange. Like, at least in our house, we don't necessarily have, I guess, assigned responsibilities. My wife and I have always just, hey, if something needs to be done, and, we just kind of, that's how we've always operated. If we see something needs to be done, the first person that sees it usually does it. Now, granted, she took on a little bit more of that responsibility, but there was no real deal on the back end, so to say, when I was done. There was a few things that cropped up, bigger projects that I would probably be working on. Let's go ahead and get these nipped in the bud. Get the garage straightened out finally. It's a little project I've been working on for a year. Type deals, but no, nothing to that effect. I also, just a little bit more insight. My wife was actually in between jobs through the early part of December until just a week and a half ago. So she was at home a little bit more than usual. So that kind of helped out a lot. She was able to kind of take on those extra responsibilities.
Mr. MADeYE, did you play Let's Make a Deal with the missus?
There was no deals. The only thing is, the way me and my wife have operated pretty much since the day we got together is I do the majority of the cooking. And it's not that my wife can't cook. It's just I enjoy cooking. And I hate cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, I'll cook and you can do the majority of the cleaning. But obviously with Leapfrog, I did not do the majority of the cooking. So I basically have said, since we've got out of it, that I will continue to just cook. So that's probably the only deal. The main deal was with my little girl. And even though there was no set, like, I'm going to do this once Leapfrog's over, I just said to her, look, me and you are going to do some stuff that we've not been able to do, like go in the garden as much, because she loves going on a slide and she's got a trampoline in her garden. Obviously, the weather in England at the moment's not the best, but we're trying to do stuff. But her idea of fun with me is coming up into my games room. She loves it. So it was, even though I've said that we'll go do stuff outside, she wants to just come up and sit with me. She helps me pick games to play sometimes. One of the games that I played for Leapfrog was Paw Patrol, and she sat there with a second controller pretending to play Paw Patrol with me. So, yeah, there's
what a
no
great
deals.
game that is.
Just more love and affection, I think.
All right. Chewy on Ice asks, if the four of you decide to form a G-Task team next year, is there any point in anyone else signing up?
That actually came up in our conversations during the course of the week leading up to all of us collectively coming to the MichEll, and my wife actually brought up, she said, hey, at the very least, you know 3 other people to form a 4-man GTAC team. And I was like,
wow.
Huh, I guess I do now, don't I?
Yeah, and as far as anybody else signing up, I think, in our discussions, it's kind of funny because I personally stumbled on some statistics that I think are kind of interest in, and especially from a G-Task standpoint, that I pointed out to MADeYE, and I think that we may have found, obviously we're 4 very hard-headed individuals. We all have an incredible drive, and none of us are ones that are just going to raise the white flag ever, in, I think, anything that we do, except for my individual G-Task run this week. So that'll be another story for another time. But with that being said, I do encourage other people to join, but we're not responsible if we make a deep run and make anybody feel bad. There's your little bit of trash talking, L. Everybody's been put on notice, okay?
Oh, it's been amazing.
It's funny you said that about the individual G-Task, because after I posted up on TA my status update that, Leapfrog's over, here's how the statistics ran out, someone said, "Are you going to try to win G-Task now?" And I was like, "Oh, right, I'm still in that."
Oh, no.
I had my G-Task team said, go ahead and try to make it a 2 for this year, and I said, the break, I think I'm going to let the G-Task go quietly. So, but as far as the team goes, I honestly think all 4 of us have clicked very well. I feel I think all of us are more similar than we are different. And I think it would make for a very interesting team, to say the least. And I think that we could actually turn some heads if we did that.
Alrighty. Carpe Adam.
Yeah, and I loved the G-Task.
What's that, MADeYE?
I said I love the G-Task. Well, I don't want to toot my own horn. I've been part of 2 teams that have won the G-Task.
Yeah,
previously,
toot away.
so I know what it. Yeah, I won it back to back.
Wow.
With 2 of my friends' 3-man team, consisting of myself, Mephisto for the win, who ironically was 3rd in the first Leapfrog, with Irish Warrior and Emerald Axa. So he gave me some tips in the old Leapfrog, and Rogue 1992. So we won it. I think it was 2015.
Yeah, it was 2015.
And then, we basically were fighting against Redemption and his team. And the following year, we decided that it would be fun to get Redemption on our team. So we brought Redemption into the G-Task, and everybody just remembers Redemption demolishing everybody, because it was basically a Redemption year. Redemption kills it every year anyway, but it made our second year in the G-Task extremely easy without sounding overly big-headed. By the second day of the final week, I didn't score anything except for my dive, just because Redemption smashed like 100,000 TA in like 2 days, and it was like, it's over and done with. Because the second team that was who came second was actually my brother and his teammates, and I already knew what they'd got, and Redemption scored more than they had as a team.
I had forgotten that you're one of the few that starts a new game every day on their tag. How many days are you up to?
Yeah.
Do you know? Of course, you know.
It will be 8 years next month.
Wow.
It is something I'll have to bring TA up. It's like 2,500 consecutive games that I've played. It is something stupid, if I'm honest.
Can't stop now.
Which is one of the reasons why Leapfrog, I wouldn't say was easy, because it was never easy, but it was. I could basically just start a game that I'd only got 1 achievement in, play for half an hour, and probably pop 8 or 9 achievements in half an hour, 45 minutes, and then move on to the next one.
So
I did think one.
You still have access to all those games?
One day that I was gonna. Yeah, they're all mine.
Wow.
Other than obviously games with gold games and free to play games, because I take obviously advantage of free to play games. I'm not one of those people that buy the games as soon as they come out, because obviously I spend a lot of money on it, which is one of the reasons why in the forums people are like, "You've spent loads of money in Leapfrog," and I'm like, "No, I've spent what I'd normally spend."
Yep.
I haven't actually overspent. I've underspent, if anything, because the games are gold.
Game Pass.
But it's
That one.
games gold, Game Pass, Game Pass PC. I've got every single ACA game on PC and Xbox, and I've only probably dived about 40 of each of them.
Wow. Because I know some people doing what you do would buy a Japanese game, and then they would pop an achievement, and then they would immediately sell it back and get their money back.
I've never sold a game. I've probably got physically about 2,500 360 games on disc.
I'm right there with
along
you.
with my Xbox games.
I'm right there with you, Matt. I can't think of a single game I've actually sold. Everything in my collection is mine, and I own that. So
yeah, my brother is probably the luckiest gamer in the world, because obviously with Xbox you can home share.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what they brought out for families. And ironically, I actually am one of those people that share it with a family member. And he does buy a couple of games. I'm not going to say he doesn't. And there are some games that he will buy knowing that I will just play them once. But he's got a stupid catalogue just because I don't buy anything physical on the Xbox One anymore. I buy it all digitally.
Yep.
And,
all right,
and
just wanted to ask. Go ahead.
I'm the outlier from these two guys. I don't generally hang on to my games when I'm done with them. The physical ones, if I've completed them and don't have much of an interest to ever go back to them, I usually will get rid of them. But, and also to piggyback on, a little bit of what MADeYE said, a lot of people think it took loads of money, to stay in this. It really honestly took some creativity and a good support system. Like I said earlier, Retro Chief lives, I think, roughly about an hour to an hour and a half from where I live. He has a massive collection, and he was more than willing to say, hey, whatever you need. He even kept sending me messages asking if I needed anything. So it's just being creative, and that's what it all boiled down to, is somewhat good management skills on all of our parts on use what we have available to us to our advantage. And a great community helping out. Redemption, who was mentioned earlier, when I had asked, for some suggestions, I think he flooded the Discord with somewhere near about 150 suggestions, which was amazing. Games that he's played and had experience with and was able to help us.
I'll just piggyback on what was being said then. A lot of the games you didn't actually have to play quick games to get quick achievements. There were some games that were heavily, you could get 10, maybe 15 achievements in 45 minutes to an hour, rather than looking at those hour game completions as well. So
like front-loaded, heavily
they were
front-loaded.
the interesting ones that were unfortunately not on Android's radar for his.
For a grand majority of it, I was not aware of how. Like, I had a system and it worked, but it didn't take into account the games that were like 80-hour games that you can get like half of them in the first hour. Didn't even cross my radar.
Oh, and it's 2,897 days that I've dived a new game. That's not including today because I haven't got my dive yet.
That's impressive.
That is very impressive.
All right, so we'll do a couple more rapid fire ones real quick.
Sure.
Carpe Adams 79 asked, did the competition completely take over your gaming time and take the fun out of it, or did the challenge of it all actually enhance your gaming experience? We'll go with Inigo first.
I'd say, oddly, it's a little bit of both. I managed to actually kind of find, again, being resourceful, games that don't show up on your 1 to 2 hours. Managed to kind of get a couple of carries, through games that people have had experience in, and actually had some fun along the way in a few of them. I had a friend that kind of carried me through State of Decay 2, and it was nice to just kind of hang out with your friends and play the game, and they're showing you what to do and all this, and because of their knowledge, it actually cuts off a lot of time in the game, and they have the resources and stuff, so it cut into some of the more co-op fun gaming time, but you found ways to squeak it in too. And I got a nice little fun story I'm going to share, and I told you I'd do this, El, about play your games for fun. Couch co-op story. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to share this one with you, because it was one of those moments that was just really fun during Leapfrog. My nephew, not the nephew you guys often reference.
Yes.
My actual nephew was over for a week during Leapfrog, and of all the games, I'm playing Victorious Time to Shine, which is a fantastic game for a 40-year-old guy to be playing. And
I also played that during this, so...
Yes, Android did as well. And we're sitting there...
My best friend's brother is the one for... Yeah, anyway, I don't know it at all. Go ahead.
My wife was singing it in the bedroom while I was doing it.
So there is...
So it's not a good game then, no?
Beauty and the Completionist.
I've got it sat here.
My nephew is playing Call of Duty. He's a PlayStation kid and playing Call of Duty. He's 17, and there's a local co-op achievement, and I turn around and look at him. It's about midnight, and I'm like, hey, I need you to stand in front of the Kinect camera with me so I can get these co-op achievements. He says, okay, so he gets up in front of the camera with me, and being the ardent gamers that we are, I just kind of wave my hand so the score registers, so the game thinks that we were actually playing. And when he saw me do that and I had earned some points, he suddenly was like, hold on a second, I'm not going to let you beat me. So he actually starts doing some dance moves, which in turn, the competitive drive in me says, well, you're not going to beat me. I'm not just going to stand here and let you beat me. So before you know it, here I am, a 40-year-old man with a 17-year-old nephew. We're both playing Victorious in full-on dance moves in my game room, competitively dancing against each other. It was one of the most ridiculous sights. I still laugh about it. Wife got a great kick out of it. It was a really funny moment, because no business us two should be playing that game to begin with, let alone playing it straight up. So there you go, El. Play your games for fun, right?
That game and I are enemies. The collected all wardrobe items achievement did not pop for me.
It did not pop for me either. I gotta go back to it.
Really?
Yep.
So I redid the whole game a second time. It still didn't pop. So then I deleted the save data and did it a third time in one sitting, and then it popped. So,
yay!
I know that game quite well.
Yeah, I get to look forward to that. Yay!
I will say the songs are pretty catchy. I didn't say that. No, they're terrible. I don't know.
It is.
Yeah.
The worst part is
Connect. Of course, it is.
The worst thing is when Connect games, you can't use the controller to pick stuff, and you got to do the swiping. And
it's awful and Victorious.
Yeah, it's terrible. Oh. That's
I got my Connect out once for Leapfrog.
You didn't use it at all?
And that was Gunslinger.
I had to use it for Victorious, and I think I used it for one other thing. But I live
Let's cheer.
No, but my wife told me I need to. That's in my collection over there. So
yes, stream it.
Hasn't Let's Cheer only got like 12 achievements?
Yeah, that's why I didn't play it.
I think I looked at it and thought no, because my 360 Connect's sat on my wardrobe covered in dust, and I haven't used it for ages. And I was like, look, I've still got quite a few games to dive. I should get it out and start playing it. And then I saw, it's Gunslinger's got quite a few achievements that are quite early on in the first campaign. I'll get them. Got it out. Got the one for looking at the download, and then turned it off and never put another Connect game on. So I popped one achievement in Connect games through the Leapfrog.
Well, there was actually one that you had mentioned, Let's Cheer only having 12. Nick Dance 1 was one that had like a low achievement count, but you could basically idle that game. So even though it only had, 16 in it, it was 16 absolutely painless achievements for the most part. Because you could just turn it on and basically sit down in front of the Kinect and wave your hand once and basically kind of BS your way through the game, for lack of a better term.
That game is great. Dora taught me a lot of Spanish.
I was so tired of hearing that game.
See, for a lot of the time, I was outweighing games I could dive and get relatively quite a few achievements in, because the nature of my dive is I'm only really meant to play one new game a day, so I couldn't smash out 4 or 5 new games every day, even though in that last week I actually, and it still makes me feel sick, played more than one game a day. just because there was 2 reasons. I wanted more sleep, and 2, work called me up and said, look, we need you in the office a lot more this week. And I took my Xbox to work, and even though my boss knew what was going on, he wasn't particularly happy with me playing my Xbox while rendering images. So I started playing quicker, easier games, and took a few hits on my dives just because I've got that many games sat there to play. I just decided that it was probably in the best interest to get them over and done with, get Leapfrog Day done over and done with quicker than needed be.
As for it, like, taking over my gaming life, the short answer is yes, because in the beginning it wasn't so big a problem. I'd earn one achievement and then I'd flip over to my PlayStation and play Yakuza or something.
Whoa.
Right? But especially in the later parts, it was... In the middle part, it was... I was able to kind of finagle in other things. Like, there's a good spot of the Leapfrog competition where I earned a bunch of Borderlands achievements because my wife had never played the original Borderlands. So we replayed a lot of that, and I earned a bunch of achievements that way. And then I just like top off and be like, all right, I have to go earn the rest of these in another game. And then near the end, the aforementioned, wanting to play Smite, can't do that. My friends finally got into Monster Hunter World, which is a game I absolutely love to death. But now that they're all playing, I'm in Leapfrog, can't join them for that. So it started taking over everything, and the gaming started being more of a secondary job in order to keep myself in it, and less about enjoying a game. The Neo Geo games, the ACA games that I brought up in this conversation, they're fine games, but they're not my cup of tea. I'm not really that good at arcade fighters. I'm not good at racing games. I like slow tactical games. Monster Hunter World's an RPG. Smite is a lot of tactics. Those are my bag, and I wasn't able to play a lot of the games I wanted to play. I was now playing games that I needed to play.
All right. Chewy on Ice asks, why do we in general get so involved in these events, and in particular push ourselves so hard when the reward so clearly isn't worth the effort, at least on paper? Inigo, you're back with us.
I'm going to chalk this up. I somebody who probably knows a little bit more about this than I do made a comment to me, and it kind of made sense. He maybe felt like my push of this might have been a midlife crisis. I don't think I can argue that. It's kind of it's kind of hard to really dispute that at this point. You kind of reach this point, in your life. I'm 40 years old, and it said, you know what? Okay, this is going to be my one go at it. And let's see where I get. And I'm not going to say he's wrong, but I think it's a fairly good assessment. I think that's where I was coming from.
Interesting. MADeYE?
Stupidity is probably the main reason, or the main one. Honestly, I hadn't, from my personal side, I hadn't put much gamer score up since the G-Task in 2016, and I'd watched friends pass me in gamer score, and over the years I didn't care. And then it got to the point where my brother was 10,000 gamer score behind me, and I looked at Leapfrog and went, he's not catching me. I'm not letting him do it. It was more of a pride thing to push away from my brother and overtake some friends that had overtaken me and get closer to, especially my previous teammates in Mephisto and Rogue. Both of them. Rogue was always in front of me, but we were always sort of like 5,000 gamer score between each other. And when the Fame stuff came on, he made a massive push because he's from the Oceania, and he tried to win the gamer score for Oceania, and he scored like 350,000 or something in a couple of weeks. And he skyrocketed over the 1 million, and I was like, I want that. So I used it as a push for that. But it's definitely stupidity and pride, I think.
Okay, Android.
Kind of going off what MADeYE said, it's a pride issue for me. I'm when I play a game, I play for fun. It's a game. But when I'm in a competition, I am mad competitive. And when I had my friends saying, like, oh, you're just shooting for this, and, like, oh, there's going to be all these competitions, we'll root for you, but we'll see how it pays out. It agitated me, and it pushed me all the harder. I'm a gracious loser, but I'm not in a competition okay with just giving up. So when push comes to shove, I just push all the harder, and I can't, my pride won't let me give up. So it comes back to maybe a shy amount of stupidity, because my body, I know, was starting to be like, hey, you really need to sleep, and your focus is lacking. You should go and, take a break. But I couldn't let it. So it's a pride thing for me.
Alrighty. Let's talk about games.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've gotten this question the most, but you want to pick like 2 or 3 games that you played that were good, and 2 or 3 games you played that were awful. The good, of course, being Victorious.
Of course. Game of the decade right there.
It's actually...
so good.
If you play this game, you are elite. I couldn't make this up. It's currently worth 1,337 TA. So if you play this game, you are elite, son!
Yes.
Couldn't make that up if I tried. MADeYE, what's some good games that you played?
Most of the games I played was trash.
There's got to be 1 or 2.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed Bee Simulator.
Whoa.
It's not your common, really great game, and I don't think many people will agree with me. But it was just while playing Leapfrog, a lot of the games that I played were either pixel graphics that were horrible games just built for gamer score and achievements. Then there were games that I followed for guides that were more easier on the eye. So it's like Cool to the Sea. I really enjoyed that. I know you mentioned it on your podcast. I don't think it was last week or the week before, and the person basically talking about it was like, it's just collectibles. He's not wrong. It is just collectible after collectible.
Yeah.
But the game looks really nice, and it was great for Leapfrog because I was able to play the Windows 10 version and the Xbox One version pretty much simultaneously, running from one collectible on the Xbox, then running to the same collectible on the Windows 10, put my controller down, picking up the Xbox controller, doing that. So it was those games were good for the score. I might have to. I've actually ironically played a couple of games over the last week again, just to see how trashy they were, like Mayo.
Oh.
So I actually played Mayo again earlier on today, just to have a look at it and see how trashy it was, and it is trashy. But I wasn't really taking it in when I was playing it for Leapfrog. But I mean, Bee Simulator was really sort of mellow. It's not one that was really, I don't think, on many people's radars. It's classed as a simulation game, but it's like open world, and it was one of those games that I played along with my daughter. So she was interested in the movement of the bee and things like that. So it was nice to play along with her. I've already mentioned Freedom Finger. That's probably one of my favourite shmups as such that I've played, even though I've played quite a lot of the Japanese ones. But obviously with them being in Japanese, they're really hard to understand and know what I was doing. And a lot of the time I was basically turboing the A button to shoot and sort of wiggling it with my foot, with my stick, while I was playing on the Xbox One to sort of try and get extra points to get through. Because some of them allow you to just press start and continue, so that a lot of them were them. And I like platforming games, but I didn't really get to play many. Lose Revenge was quite good, because that was another one that I didn't have to follow a guide. So anything that I could play that I didn't have to follow a guide, I'd probably class as good through Leapfrog.
I will actually say Lose Revenge was, in itself, just, I thought, actually a pretty good shmup. Because we don't get a ton of those twin-stick shooters, and I actually really just enjoyed the game in and of itself, achievements aside. I thought it was fairly well put together.
I was really disappointed with Lose Revenge at one point, because I realised that if I'd have kept all of my points for the upgrades, I could upgrade everything,
quit out,
and then quit out and have all my points. And it was like halfway through the game I realised that I could do it, and I think it was mainly because it was probably into the 90th day or 95th day, so somewhere in between 900 and 100 days, and my mind wasn't as active as it should be with those games, and it would have been probably something that I would have thought of. And there's no guides telling you.
There's no information on Lose Revenge at all.
And and I was like, why didn't I think of this? Because I could have got another 3 or 4 achievements out of this game, and now I've got to play the whole game again.
Oh.
Even though I enjoyed it, I've got to go back to it. So,
Android, good games, bad games? Why not both?
Right. So I mean, there were a couple of gems that I came across. Like there are a lot of games, and I know that EA tried to tell me differently, that multiplayer is the way of the future, but I like a good, solid story single player game. So the ones that really stuck with me are the ones that were very story based, and this, like, I had them in my collection, but I never got around to playing them. Some of the more light click and points and walking sims. Like I genuinely loved The Assembly. I thought that was a great game. I mentioned Sky Hill earlier as kind of a resource management roguelike type of game, which was really good. But I had never played Darkestville Castle, which was very Monkey Island sense of humor, point and click adventure game, and The Little Acre, which, oh god, that the little girl was the most adorable little girl. It's those kinds of story games really stuck with me. And then conversely, there were, oh god, I can't remember. It was like, was it Into the Blue or one with the dying robots? Like that game, I did not get behind. But also, as far as games I didn't like, I'm a chicken. Halloween is my least favorite time of the year. Bumps in the night terrify me. Like I'm not good with that. So when I had to play games like, not Your Toy was not terrifying, but like when you're playing it at 2:00 in the morning.
Wait, hold on. Your Toy was not terrifying?
It was.
I don't think reasons. The story was. Yeah, I think for different reasons it may have been.
The achievements were, but when you're playing at like 1 in the morning and everyone's asleep, and then you've got like the sound on just enough so you can hear things coming, and then all of a sudden your cat jumps on your lap. That's not okay.
Did you manage to get the key?
After my 12th try, yes.
I got lucky on mine. First try. I was shocked.
First.
But like, and then another game that like pissed me off, and this is for different reasons. Maybe it's the same reason. Like we talked about Your Toy and the achievement thing, but Goat Simulator. If I have to play another Goat Simulator, I can't.
I don't blame you.
I played all. I played the three of them on all three different screens, and I've still got like 30 achievements in each one to go back and do. I don't think unless something like this I ever do anything remotely like this again, that game's just never going to be completed.
So like,
did you try Flappy Goat on 3 consoles at the same time?
Pass.
No, I completely bypassed Flappy Goat. I just went, no, I'm not even going to try that. Entertain it.
So for me, a lot of the single player story based, a lot of click and point adventure games, but the walking sim games had a really solid story. Like I said, The Assembly was so good, and whoever they got for the VOing, that guy was smooth as silk. I loved his voice. It was such a good game, and Little Acre and all those, like they made you feel, and those were the ones that really stuck with me at the end. And I think it's because I paid attention to the story, and they weren't like the early games. I played those mid to late, and I really got into those. So that's what I remember.
All right, Inigo?
There was a couple. I mean, yeah, there was some bad games, but, you know, even bad games have their certain place, I guess, you know, like in the environment that we're in. Some of the rats were kind of surprising, but one that stuck out to me was a game called Police Chase, and MADeYE will probably get this more so than anybody else, but it's Crash Time 5, if anybody's ever played Crash Time. And it was on sale once during the thing, and I picked it up, and sight unseen, didn't even know what the game was about, just had a ton of achievements and rated in at 5 hours. Okay, fits the bill of what I'm looking for. And when I loaded up the game, and I'm literally, they used the same map, it's a carbon copy. I was shocked, and I'm a big fan of the Crash Time series, and they're a lot of fun, because they're so bad they're good. I mean, that's the whole premise of the game, and so I really enjoyed my time with that. You know, one game, and I'm going to mention this because you guys brought it up on the podcast, I think a week, maybe 2 weeks ago. On a Roll 3D. I have a little bit of bad experience with that game, and I'll share this with you folks. So I'm not good at platformers. So not a strong suit of mine. There's a section in On a Roll 3D late in the game where they decide to invert the map. and you have to basically play the game with inverted controls and try to get through the level. Well, I am already bad at platformers. Why are you going to invert the controls on me late in the game? So I had finished up my day in Leapfrog, and I said, well, I'm getting close to getting to the boss. So what I'll do is if I complete this level, I'll be set up to just fight the boss in the next level, earn a couple of achievements when I start off my day tomorrow. So I'm trying to complete the level, and I get this wild idea to turn my monitor upside down to get through the inverted part, which is all well and good, but I have my monitor set up on a dual stand, on a dual mount, so I took one of the monitors off and not thinking ahead of time, the counterweight of the second monitor, it ended up toppling over and sliced my left middle finger as I tried to catch it.
Oh, God.
And it was just a big comedy of errors at 3 a.m. in my house while everybody was sleeping, with monitors falling and me cutting my finger open. And I laugh about it now because it's really foolish, but needless to say, so I have a disdain for that game for different reasons. But funny nonetheless, and you kind of run into a few gems. I'm going to butcher how this game is pronounced, but the Gaijin Sharenji 1 Kiss or Kill.
Oh, Kiss or Kill.
Yes, we'll just go with Kiss or Kill. I love the concept of the game. Anybody that takes the time to actually let the loading screen stay on the loading screen, the developer actually put in a nice little note in that game to the player, which was really heartwarming to actually read it. So if anybody owns that game, just take a chance to check that out. I won't spoil it for anybody, but it was a touching note to the player. So a lot of respect for the guy that made that game and why he made it. So, like I said, anybody gets a chance to check it out. Not a difficult completion, but well worth the time. So, and nobody under any circumstances should ever play Allison's Diary Rebirth. Nobody. That is probably the worst experience I've ever had in video games.
That was in my queue.
It's awful.
I have just thought of another one that I really enjoyed, and I can't believe I forgot about it. Chicken Police.
Yes!
If no one played Chicken Police, that is by far the best point and click I've played in probably 3 or 4 years.
It was so good.
Easily.
I will have to add that one to the list, for sure. I saw a couple of... I think you and Black Blood both played it. At one point.
Yeah, I dived it earlier on in the year, knowing that it was a 2-hour completion, if that, for over 30 achievements. And I was like, so that's a nice solid number for a solid amount of time. But I actually took longer to play that game just because of the way it was delivered.
Because you were actually having fun.
And
yeah,
I just really enjoyed it. I didn't speak you can speed through the dialogue. I didn't do that. The visuals, because I'm a graphic designer, so visuals on certain things get my juices flowing, and just the concept of the way this game is produced and looks is really, really nice. So if you haven't played it, I'd definitely suggest playing it, because it is a gem, and I can't believe I forgot about it.
I'll definitely have to look at. I had it on the list because I noticed you and Black Blood had played it, so it obviously we're all watching what everybody's doing at some point or another. So we're taking ideas from everybody.
All right. We're going to be wrapping up soon. Before we go, we're going to talk about every nerd's dream, stats. I did notice something interesting. A stat that I picked up is that both Android and MADeYE have completion percentages in the 30s. And Black Blood and Inigo have completion percentages in the 90s. So it's very interesting. Achievement Hunter could be anything. Completionist, someone who likes quantity, quality.
It's
just fascinating. It's just fascinating.
It's kind of the same thing with Meta though. Like I have a vast collection, and I've started a lot of games, but then I don't have the time, and then I don't get back to them, and I have a bad record of that, and I know that.
It's just I always say it's like a gamer's thing. You wouldn't start the first 10 or 20 minutes of 30 movies and then go on to the next one. It's just like a weird gamer thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But,
it is
how from the
it's I don't know. So anyway, who's got stats for me?
I got a handful.
I've got a couple.
I'm gonna. If Android wants to go first, I think a lot of ours are going to be similar, but they may be different. So
maybe we'll see.
Compare notes.
I can tell you that first off, I broke 1 million TA, which was brilliant. That was
awesome.
Good for me.
Congratulations.
Yay.
And I completed 243 games. Lots of them were trash, but
wow,
243 games
in the span of 130 days.
Yeah,
nice.
I wrote down I wrote up these stats the day after Leapfrog got over, so the TA may have fluctuated by this point. That said, by the end of the competition, I had earned 8,528 achievements because of the aforementioned being dropped in week 72. I had earned 566,842 TA. So that's over. So I'm sorry, 448,000. It's a difference. I had started off with 566,000. So I almost earned double my TA over the course of the Leapfrog competition.
Wow.
And
amazing.
I earned 366,331 gamer score, which is over double what I had when I started off the competition.
That's
nice job.
Yeah, that's some impressive numbers for sure. And they're very similar. They look, fairly in line, with what I'm looking at here. And I broke my stats down a little bit here. So achievements 1 were 8,515 achievements. And now I will say this. I know of at least 5 or 6 days I did go over the quota, not intentionally. Some of those unintended consequences from games you just don't know what's going to happen. So, so I did go over a few days. But based off of that number over the duration, I had earned 65 achievements per day on average over 130 days. My gamer score, I earned 365,000 gamer score for a rough average of 2,800 gamer score per day. TA score, 495,000 TA for 3,800 TA per day. Completed games, I ended up getting about 310 completed games for 2.4 per day. I started 365 new games, averaging, and I can hear MADeYE cringing right now, 2.8 games per day started on average. And I pulled this little stat for all the true achievement difference aficionados. I was averaging 1,000 TAD per day during the competition. That was an average over 130 days.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was gonna say out of the 243 that I finished, I took a quick tally of the amount of games that I played, and it was like over 500 games that I played over the course of the competition, and I'm just glad I finished anything. There we go. 583 games is what I played over the course of the competition.
Now, I probably played
Unreal.
well more than those, probably not much more than the started games, because my completionist mentality, I tend to not have a ton of stuff lingering out there to pull from a pool. I have to start new games.
MADeYE
I've
is...
got no stats for you, really. I'm afraid.
All right.
Just it's basically the way I played Leapfrog. I didn't pencil anything really in. I can tell you, I went up 5% in completion percentage.
Nice.
Because I'm gutted I'm over 30. Because I was at a cool 28% before Leapfrog started. And I plan to get back down there.
There you go. I guess the most important stat is that you all started with one wife and ended with one wife. So
absolutely, and
that seems to be.
I count that as a win. Yeah,
we're all still employed.
I am still employed.
We are
that
all
was actually
still employed.
that as well. Yeah,
that was also another thing that helped me keep in this competition. Was I had I'm not good at taking vacation. I'm not good at using my time off. So I got to use 2 weeks of vacation in December, along with all the personal days I also didn't spend. So I was only working 3 days a week through the entire month of December. That's the only other reason I was able to keep up.
All right. Are there any parting thoughts anyone would like to share, or any plugs, or anything?
I have a couple.
Go for it. Or anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, I have a couple people I definitely want to thank, for sure. And number one, obviously, man, she will always be number one on this list, is my wife. Just a tremendous woman. Can't thank her enough. Blackblood, Android, and MADeYE. These three guys are really some of the three greatest guys I have met. And have actually, if nothing else, aside from being in this competition, I am thankful that I've actually had the opportunity to get to know them on a personal level because of this competition. And I would like to thank Chuckles37v3. Many of you may not know him. He's the guy that carried me through. He's a good friend of mine. He carried me through State of Decay, Astroneer. We had a couple other carries kind of lined up. He was working ahead of me to see what type of co-op games he could basically pull me into to just kind of give me a reprieve when I needed it. Wakapeil, who's in the AH community, AH101 community. His Human Fall Flats, boy, those days off really came in handy. Retro Chief 1969, what a great guy, helped me out a lot. This person, he was kind of a silent partner of mine, Kronos, or some may know as Expovos. He did a great job of managing the spreadsheet for me, pulling in information, having it ready for me when I needed it. He helped me out with several carries as well, bringing me into a few games that he's well-versed in, so I could just basically have that time off. And my GTASC teammates of Philip Wendell, Hawkeye Berry, and AZ Mongoose. Those guys literally worked around all my Leapfrog efforts while we were running through GTASC. Very selfless acts on their part. Cannot thank them enough. And my last little shout out, I just kind of want to give anybody that knows Kronos or Expovos, and if you haven't read his blog on TA, or even had the pleasure of actually meeting him, he is a excellent individual, very intelligent. He runs a stream on Tuesday nights, 9 to 12 midnight Eastern. We are actually going to run an experiment on his stream on February 9th. We are going to play a single-player game, and we're going to turn it into a co-op game. So I am going to help coach Kronos in the famous Hexic HD during his stream on Tuesday, February 9th. So, if anybody wants to check out how that operates, I'm going to help coach Kronos to get the Grand Pro Poobah. So if anybody wants to watch that stream, check it out, February 9th, 9 to 12 midnight Eastern. And you can see exactly what we're going to do there, okay? Should be fun.
All right. MADeYE?
Pretty much echoing what's just been said. My wife and my little girl are my two rocks, so they've got to be at the top of the list. Everybody that I've come across in Leapfrog, especially these three guys, Again, I want to echo everything that's just been said. Everyone is stand up, and I appreciate being able to get to know everybody. And I'm just glad that you messaged us on TA, just because when I first got that message, I was like, actually, I got the message on the Xbox, so I hadn't even seen the TA message, and I was like, really? Is this gonna happen? Can this work? And it did. And I'm part of me was a little wary to choose to stop, but I'm glad we did. I'm glad that we all stopped together. It's something that I'm never going to forget. So that's a testament to the 3 remaining people. I've got to say thanks to my brother Jimsy26. He did a lot of recon as playing games before me to find out how quick they were, and what I could get out of them. Even making side notes on games such as Tyrannus and Freedom Finger that hadn't got many guides out there to give me help and hints. And I've got to thank Mephisto and Rogue 1992 because they gave me some handy hints with games. And then to my Friday night crew that I game with every Friday night, Captain Cookie 1, Thor's Bold Eagle, and 2 names 06. Those 3 guys pulled me through every weekend. They were in my party, cheering me on, not letting me play games with them, except for Friday nights, where they made me play the easy games. Well, they didn't make me play easy games, but they would invite me to games that they knew I couldn't play, so I would play Starbound, pop my 50 achievements.
Oh, that was a hard one.
Make people think that I was done in the make people think I was done in the competition by popping these easy games, by getting these 50 achievements in 2 minutes, just so I could play with my buddies, just to give me some sanity every week.
Mm-hmm.
And last but not least, Oriel, he messaged me the last week and basically said, I've got a server on Sea of Thieves. Do you want to jump in and I'll get you some achievements?
Hold on, I'm gonna have to have a talk with Oriel about that. Where was my invite on it?
Good old Oriel.
You just threw him out there. I'm sending the message.
Yeah.
I already have beef with Oriel for rating every game 5 out of 5 and fully ruining the integrity of the TA voting system.
So I rated every game 1 to 2 hours.
Uh-oh, Chewy's gonna get on you now.
Oh boy.
I think my shout-outs go to, obviously my wife, to echo that sentiment, because without her basically letting me do this to the fullest extent that I could, I wouldn't have been able to, because if she had at any point said, you gotta stop, it's gonna cost you, then I probably would have stopped. So the thing, I huge shout out to Profile. I don't want a profile, which is my wife's.
Uh-huh.
Shout out to her. Shout out to Wakapeil for carrying me through Human Fall Flat, which that was on a day when I had meetings at work all day, and he helped me through virtually all of that while I was also paying attention to a meeting.
Angel Waka.
Shout out to Rich for letting us all end this amicably. And these 3 guys here. Well, Blood's not here, but you know what I mean. The 3 of us, the others who. When I got that message from Inigo, I think I'd only talked to him cursory beforehand, and we had done a quick online session in Madden, which I think is how we got this ball rolling as far as the conversation was going. He's like, hey, you need Madden, I need Madden. We're in the competition. I guess so. Let's do it. And when I got that message saying, hey, what if we all agreed to do this? Like I said, my pride was kind of a stopping point. I was like, are we really? Like, is this going to work? And are we all going to be able to walk away with this with our heads held high? And, I was weary of it as well. And then when it happened, the next day I remember getting sleep and I was like, I'm happy this happened. It's also a minor shout out. So one of the things I had to do not had to do, but in my daily routine was every other week, my wife and I joined a group for D&D, and those sessions can go long. Our friend Nick, who his gamer tag is Blame the Wizard. He during the later parts of each one of our sessions, he openly let me use his Xbox during like prolonged battles. He's like, hey, I know this is important to you. If you need to use my Xbox, go ahead. So I did. He
Thanks, Nick.
He looked at a couple of those games, man, and was wondering he wondered what the hell I was playing, because some of those games did not look great. They were all the pixel art ones. So he's like, what are you even playing? I was like, I don't know. But I know it's got achievements. And it's late, man. Just let me do this. So shout out to him. So that's kind of all I got. A lot of it was those people and my own personal drive. So,
and of course, thanks to you, Al.
Me?
Yeah.
I just work here.
Are you sure you actually even do work?
I've got one quick more mention.
What's up, MADeYE?
I was going to say I've got one more quick mention to my Endless Bean Dive friends, Montana 97 and Sea Monkey Powder. You boys are legends. People think you're crazy, but I think you're sane.
No, you're all banana. You all crazy. But that's what makes us great. We're all a little bit crazy.
The whole community is. Any achievement hunter has a certain level of craziness to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just enjoy games. That's all I've got to say.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Android, MADeYE, and Inigo for joining me. And good night, everyone.
Welcome to Spellbreaking News with Wakapeil. The developers of Spellbreak, Proletariat, intends to revamp the game's class system soon. The definition of soon is not known. The change will break or change the requirements of 3 of the game's 11 achievements. Since people get angry when you take away their progress, Proletariat has drastically reduced the experience needed to progress through the class mastery system, allowing players to get unlockables before they are moved to the store. This also means that instead of thousands of matches, you can get a completion in around 150 matches, depending on skill. They've also overhauled how you gain experience. It used to be based on time alive and damage, but right now you actually have to do things to get experience, and idling will reward you with extremely little experience. Just hiding and surviving the circles is still viable, but won't get you as much experience as murdering everyone you see around you. The positive thing is that you'll likely earn more experience if you're active in a match. Unfortunately, it appears the experience boost in the Season Pass are now broken. At least one of them did not work for me. The experience required for the completion has been lowered from 1.6 million to 270,000. Coupled with the other changes, This formerly more than 400 hours completion now takes around 50 hours to complete. If you disable crossplay and choose an Asian server, you're very unlikely to run into other players aside from bots, but the lag spikes might kill you. Since the bots do not cooperate, playing with a squad is probably the way to go if you want quick and easy experience. Right now, Spellbreak has 1000 gamer score worth over 10,000 TA, with over 6,000 of those points tied to its most time-consuming achievement, which has a ratio above 50. It's going to be interesting to see where it ends up in a couple of months. Time for me to finish Spellbreak.
Pretty.